Let me explain this off the top. Because, by the way, Brian Dutcher's show at 6 p.m. I'm all over the place. I'm going to be here for 5 hours today. Now, we have a special guest in studio that you can't see right now on YouTube. It's just me with a solo camera. This is not my future co-host, I don't think. This is not my future co-host, but it's great to catch up with a dear friend who's been on the show so many times. Annie Halburn from the UT.
Surprise.
Is here for the next hour or so. Annie, it's great to see you. Thank you for swinging by.
It is great to be here, John. I'm so excited to be here and just hang out. We just decided, hey, let's talk some Padres. We'll talk some sports. We'll hang out.
Let's make fun of Jim.
Let's make fun of Jim, which I do have a question.
Yeah,
I
what do you
have? A burning question.
What do you have? Because I want to spend the first 15 minutes just catching up with you and then just like making fun of Jim.
I love it for like the next 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. What's your burning question?
Okay, I wanted to ask him this, the last show he was on, his goodbye show.
Yeah.
Does he listen to the show? You know how some people...
Of course he does.
Okay, because you know the NFL players that I've talked to that are like, when they retire or they get forced out, they can't watch football for like years, right? Like it's too hard for them. And I wondered, is Jim going to be like that?
Well, here's what I know. The other day, this is a brilliant question, because the other day I got like a text from him and it was a screenshot of like a graphic on YouTube that I created. It's like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, so I know he's like, the thing is, he's got access. First of all, so much should probably change this. Like, he has access to everything. He could, in theory, tweet out anything or go on YouTube and post anything. So there's no way you can't do it as long as he did it and then just completely walk away from it, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, we did it together for 4 years.
Yeah.
Plus, at the wrap-up show, it was like 5 or 6 years. I feel like it's hard to just like cold turkey something. Do you feel that? I mean, it's probably beneficial.
Right.
But it's hard. It's like if you smoke, is it easy to just stop smoking? If it was, everyone would stop smoking.
Yeah.
Or if you're a gambler, can you just stop gambling? Like, by and large, you're attached to kind of what you've done.
Yeah, and you've got like that whole curiosity. Like, how's John going to do without me? Is he going to sing?
And that's why I put today, it's funny, I put special guest joining, and I'm like, I want to know if Jim's going to text me. Like, who's this special guest? But he didn't, but I'm sure he's curious who's on right now.
I feel like he is listening, and I'm surprised he doesn't text you more, but pretty soon I feel like he's just going to text you ridiculous things all the time.
Oh, 100%.
Because he's listening and he's like, what are you talking about, man? Why are you talking about this? This is even what we're, it's a good topic.
You do a good Jim impersonation, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, Annie, you were probably on with me and Jim, as we always say, as much as anyone, with Darnay over at NBC7.
And Darnay, yes.
Yes. So, now that Jim is out the door, if you've noticed, like, it's like, what am I doing? I have no Jim. I'm doing these solo shows. You were kind enough to say, hey, listen, if you need someone for an hour, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah, it's
great.
Yes,
please come by. How's your winter? How's life?
Life is good. And yes, this is good for me too. Just good reps and good to talk sports with you.
Right,
yeah. But it's honestly, I can't believe that we're already almost to spring training. We only have a few weeks left of January. I just did with the Sports Association, the big Salute to Champions Gala. So that was kind of
awesome.
It was awesome. Got to meet Anders Dreyer for the first time, who I see why they like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not only so good on the field, but high character, high quality guy. He was there with his wife. Adrian Marjon was there with Ruben Niebla, and they were so much fun. And Niebla translated for him, so that was cool, very cool moment. But it was awesome to see just all, SDSU was there, USD, UCSD. It was awesome to see all the schools and teams there. My winter has just been like, what do you do? When the season ends, this is what we do. Every doctor's appointment that you put off
100%.
For the entire seson.
Yeah. Haven't seen a dentist in a year. Right. My vision. I can't see anything.
What does your car need?
So true.
So I think I have to force myself to get out of town for a minute, before the month ends or before spring training starts, just to kind of like, all right, like, let's get out of San Diego and have a little moment.
It's so funny you say that, because isn't it like, it's kind of like two lives, because before I got to San Diego, and whenever that 8 or 9 years ago, I was calling minor league baseball games. As Jim's always like, oh, you called minor league baseball? The running joke. But like, I always felt like I had two lives, like in season where you could do nothing. And when you had an off day, it felt like you were on vacation. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a Wednesday off. I can do my laundry. I can go to the DMV. I can go for a hike.
Trader Joe's,
100%. And then you get to the off season. It's almost like that shock of like, oh my gosh, the world is my oyster. It's 5 p.m. It's sunny out. I could go for a jog. I could go to dinner. And it honestly takes like weeks to like get out of that cycle, right?
Even coming here today, I was like, okay, I need to pack my laptop bag. I need, putting on an outfit for the first time because you're kind of going around in like your Lululemon joggers or whatever for the whole winter or whatever. And so yeah, exactly. Like especially when you have consecutive days of that, which you probably never have, honestly, because of your different jobs. But
I mean, it's so hard. Some of it is like you love being able to like do what you want to do.
Yes.
But then there's other times you're like, sometimes you just need a break. Like you heard me.
You need multiple days.
Well, I like ran out of gas. Last week. I like literally couldn't talk. But I mean, I was just like worn out. It's like I was just completely worn out. Sometimes you just kind of hit that wall. But definitely like once you get into the baseball season. Now, will you go to spring training?
We're in talks about that right now, but I won't go for the whole thing.
Right.
So, I used to go, and WBC makes it a little bit different this year, but way back in the day when journalism was thriving.
When was that?
Exactly. When was that?
It was before us.
I think back, like it was definitely before us. We would go for spring training and the UT would send me I would be out there for like 3 weeks, and which it's a long time. And we'd have a house. And I remember do you remember Bill Center?
Yeah, I just know of. I don't really know him.
The first house I ever had to share was with Bill Center.
Okay.
And he would watch like war
like
documentaries
at night, you'd be watching
every
Gettysburg.
night. Yes. I was like, okay. But no, Bill was great. But now, the UT will kind of get a house and cycle through different rooms. And that's kind of how the Athletic does it and everyone does it. And so you have to coordinate with the photographers and the other writers and the columnists and whoever's going to be there. But back in the day, I would go when pitchers and catchers would report all the way through when they started games. Because once they start games, there's not a lot of content you can get because they're getting ready to go to games. But those first few weeks were like magical. You'd get so much stuff and, not everyone was there yet and everybody was in a good mood to be back. But I probably won't be there for that. So.
Yeah. I'm envisioning, by the way, this UT house. Is it like real world or what? Is it like you should film it?
People, this is actually a really funny thing. Like, I don't even know if it's like legal. I feel like it's like not legal to do this.
All live together in a house.
Or like back in the day to be like, hey, you're female. Sorry about that. But you're
just go in this home with 11 dudes.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll get you cereal and like.
They started giving me the bigger room with like the bathroom towards the end.
Towards the end, not at the beginning.
Yeah, not in the beginning. No, not at all. But towards the end, I think they got like, they got wise to it. They're like, what, we better just give her the room with the bathroom and let her have that. But now I think that's why they don't want me to come back. They want the big room. And
they don't want to share. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Are you going to go at all?
It's so funny because I have never been to Padres spring training because it's always like Aztec time of year, and for whatever reason, I mean,
Good game last night, by the way.
It was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from Laramie, Wyoming to San Diego,
love it.
And we were fortunate actually because it was a 5:00 Pacific start, and they chartered in because it's so hard. I mean, it's in the middle of literally nowhere. Have you been?
No, I've never been to Laramie.
Have you been? That's like, have you been to the moon?
It's not on my vacation list.
So typically San Diego State will just fly commercially. Like if they're playing in Las Vegas, you get to the airport and you're like, you're at the gate and there's like a 7-footer at your gate and he has like B-22 and you have like B-21 and you're next to Magoon
you're
Quad.
just jumping on like Southwest, like
normally.
Okay.
But a couple times a year they'll charter because the schedule and it's hard to get. Like they're playing New Mexico Saturday, so if they flew commercially out of Denver today, now they've like taken a day out of their preparation for Saturday. So they needed to get back last night. So they flew directly from San Diego to Laramie Tuesday and then directly from Laramie to San Diego last night. The good news was it was a 5:00 game. So we landed back in San Diego before 11:00 at night. I'm like, how did I go from Laramie, Wyoming, where we did a game 2 nights, back to like charter is unbelievable, but they don't typically do that.
Yeah, charter is hard to go back. Once you go charter,
100%. It's hard to go back.
Difficult to go back to commercial.
But so anyway, that was a good win last night. Brian Dutcher's show's coming up at 6 p.m. Is this? I need to ask you. Is this weird for you to be like sitting in a radio? I mean, you were on in a radio studio for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking on the drive over here, I have not gotten off on this exit, which I used to always get off on for Aero Drive. Back when the Chargers were here, this is the one for Chargers facility. But then for the last year, until last March or whatnot, I were at the radio station across the street. So it was a little funny driving here. I was like, okay, I have not been here or to this area since I want to say March of last year, so it is a little weird to be back. But good. I think it's good. It's a change of scenery and fun to, like I said, to get some reps in and fun to work with you. Like we have no idea how this is going to go. It could be a total bomb.
Well, it's not possible. I work with Jim. I mean, it's like I sometimes say, do you ever feel this way? I'm being serious professionally. Yeah. There are times sometimes in my career where I'm like, wow, what I'm about to do is like challenging. Like I have to MC an event or I got to work all day. But then I go back to something else in my career. I'm like, well, if I did this, I could definitely do what I'm about to do. Yeah. And oftentimes where my mind goes like, well, I work with Jim. Like, so if I worked with Jim, I'm Jim's sure I could
threshold.
He's basically the threshold.
Everything is like easier after that.
Exactly.
I love how you scratched Jim's name off on the show. I don't know if you guys go to Instagram or the YouTube page or whatever. It's Jon and Jim, but Jim is scratched off.
Well, I don't know how to do anything. He did. He did all. I know. He like did all. He's
still here in spirit. Yeah.
He's still here. I honestly, the Niners won this past weekend, right?
Yes.
By the way, he's living my opposite life because I moved from the Philadelphia area here in my mid-30s. He, in his mid-30s, moves from San Diego to Philadelphia, which makes absolutely no sense. He did it in the winter like an idiot. He'd never lived anywhere other than California. It's snowing like every day. It's dark. It's cold. It's icy. Have you lived anywhere other? Where are you from?
No, I have not. I'm from San Diego, and I lived in New York for less than a year out of college. I did like an internship there, and then a job I kept for a little bit, but which was awesome. I love that. Awesome. But it's it's a honeymoon phase. You're living in New York.
This is great. I'm young. It's New York. Yeah,
it's amazing. But to move to Philadelphia, no, and then to have to learn how to drive in the snow or the ice.
You're clearing off your car with like the ice scraper.
Yeah. Plus, did you see what it is outside today? I mean,
it's like 80.
Yes, it is not summer 80? Weather right now.
It's so nice out.
Right. And I just can't imagine living. I've never lived anywhere where you can't walk outside and like at any point during the year. Like
where you need like all these layers and you're thinking gloves and mittens and hats.
Like it might be raining, but you can still put on a hoodie and some sweats and go to the grocery store or whatever. Whereas when you were living in Philadelphia,
there's snow.
It's not like you could go exercise outside or go for a run.
And people don't. It's like all of a sudden you turn the clocks back and it's dark after work. It's like, I don't want to work out. I just want to get back home on my couch and like cuddle up with a ball.
Yeah, exactly.
With like my cat because it's freezing outside.
Yeah, I could see how people would never leave. Well, if you did have a cat, sounds good. In your fake fireplace maybe or whatever.
Exactly.
Did you love like the Philly scene, like the Philly sports scene?
No. Okay. Well, I mean, yes and no. I was born and raised there, but I was never like a Philly. Like like Philadelphia's about like cheesesteaks and like machismo and like tough guy and like then there's like me. I'm like I don't necessarily really fit in. You know what I mean? I fit in. I feel like more for Southern California than I do for the Northeast. All right, we're going to continue this conversation. We need to get. There's so much going on in Padres land, which is perfect to have Annie here today because Padres miss out on Nolan Arenado. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? How about the return of Buddy Black and Will Myers to the organization?
We have to discuss El Gallo.
So we're gonna do that coming up. Annie's gonna hang out until about 3:30 or so. Great show lined up. Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal will join us. San Diego State and New Mexico coming up on Saturday. Caleb Davis, San Diego State football GM, transfer portal closing. Caleb's going to join us at 4 p.m. Mikey Varis, head coach of SDFC, is going to join us at 4:30. So we're underway. Brian Dutcher show at 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere here on San Diego Sports 760. Brent, do we have San Diego State, New Mexico tickets? Oh, we have San Diego State, New Mexico tickets. All right, so that is a huge game coming up Saturday. It's also restaurant week, I'm being told. Is it restaurant week now? Or we have restaurant week to give away? All right, so we've got great giveaways for you here today. Annie Halpern in studio until 3:30. We'll give away the San Diego State, New Mexico tickets after we talk to Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque News Journal. He'll join us at 3:30. We'll talk about the Aztecs and the Lobos coming up at 3:30. I don't even know where we were. Oh, I know where we were. So we're talking about our lives.
Yeah.
And of course, how long have you covered the Padres in some form or fashion?
Ooh.
10 plus years, right?
Yeah, 10 plus years. Yes. I joke that when the Chargers were here, we would all kind of be at Petco Park until training camp.
Right.
And then
like, bye, Padres.
Mass exodus. Yeah.
It's July.
And that, of course, they weren't very good back then.
Right.
So exactly, it'd be July and they'd be pretty much out of the playoffs or close to being out of the playoffs.
See you in April.
Yeah. So we'd leave or whatever. But then once the Chargers left, and I covered the Chargers for a little bit up in LA or wherever they were, Carson.
Right.
But then we, kind of moved a lot more seriously into the Padres, which was good. But overall, 10 plus years covering the Padres. Yeah.
So that would be Bud Black was managing the Padres?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Buddy was managing and Will Myers was the big time prospect, the big deal and the future of the franchise.
Yeah.
And now they're both back.
I was heavily involved during those years. And it's so funny because it is like a nostalgia vibes here.
Right.
I feel like they should bust out like a blue uniform at some point or something.
100%. Maybe that's the new City Connect.
Maybe it is. Just bring it full circle.
I mean, what do you make it? Because first of all, that's why I was glad you're coming in today. I have I know nothing about Bud Black other than what people say about him, which is he's a terrific man, obviously an Aztec. And then you have Will Myers, who everyone speaks very highly of. And I feel like during his tenure, there were, like any athlete, there's like the highs and the lows and fans in your corner and then working against you. But I feel like by the time he left, he was basically like enamored or a fan favorite.
He was, exactly. Like he had some tough years. And I think that contract, that was one of the bigger contracts that was ever given, during that time frame. It was the first one was really to Will Myers. That was Ron Fowler and Peter Seidler and all of them, starting with Will, and then went to Eric Hosmer and then Manny, et cetera, et cetera. But okay, Bud Black is awesome. Yeah. So lives in San Diego, just loves San Diego, part of the community, his wife, his kids, all of them. Every player I've ever talked to that's played for him loves him. I remember I ran into Pierce Johnson, who's with the Reds now, but was with the Braves and with the Rockies before that. And we were talking about how it was hard to play in Colorado and everything. But he said if he had the opportunity, he would play under Bud Black every single year. He just loved playing under Bud. And that's just, you hear that from so many players. They just love the guy. So his role, and remember, Mike Schilt was in this kind of a role too, senior advisor. Yeah. It's like this vague thing.
What are you even doing?
Yeah, it can be anything, right? It's anything you want it to be on that given day. But he will be a sounding board for Craig Stammen. And as you've, I'm sure, seen, Craig's been talking with Mike Schilt. Right. Yes. So now he's got another manager, a former pitcher turned manager that he can lean on and have a sounding board that will be around and he'll see face to face more often for sure. And then it looks like they're going to work a little bit, Ruben Niebla and Bud Black and, the whole conglomerate in terms of just meeting one another and, exchanging ideas and just learning about the game. But AJ Preller, he loves to surround himself with smart baseball people. I think for Bud, this is a good, who knows, he might go back to managing at some point if he can get a job again, or maybe a different job in an organization. But this seems like a good bridge for him, kind of like the way Mike Schilt did it or the way Scott Service did it, or, in terms of like, okay, let me contribute and then we'll see where it goes.
I like how you put that though, like with Preller. It's like, I'm a believer in like just the more good you can bring in, the better. Like you bring Craig Stammen back into your organization, you think he can help you in some form or fashion. Boom, you look up and he's now managing the club. That likely doesn't happen if he's not around AJ Preller post-playing career.
True.
Buddy Black, everyone has spoken. So it's honestly credit to Bud Black for coming back to the organization, right? Because wasn't Preller here?
Preller fired him.
Was like, oh, I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing how.
I mean, as an organization, they let him go. But
that's all you need to know about Bud Black, that he would be willing to come back, or good on both Preller and Buddy.
They mended fences. And it sounded like as soon as Bud was let go from, Buddy was let go from the Rockies, conversations started. Hey, Preller will put his hooks in you. Yeah. Hey, Josh Stein and AJ Preller, we'd love it if you came over. Let's think of, how could this work, et cetera, et cetera. And then they'd just keep having conversations, or they'd run into each other and have more conversations. And then it finally materialized into something more concrete more recently, But he's someone too, there's like nothing Buddy Black has not seen in the game.
Right.
I mean, he's a true lifer. He's seen everything and been around the politics and the different personalities and layoffs and hirings. And so I think that just like having that kind of a guy around, and he's so calm and so positive, really a funny guy. I think having that type of guy around too can bring a little levity sometimes, and a little bit of like, hey, you got this, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I like that. And then like Will Myers, it's like, well, first of all, there's a familiarity with a number of, his former teammates. There's a number of guys still on the team.
And you're not going to see much of him. So he's going to be more minor league affiliates. Yeah. So exactly. So he was around the team in Atlanta last year and missed the game, missed the clubhouse, as a lot of the former players often do. But he's had 2 kids now, just had another baby, plays a lot of golf, plays a ton of golf, but got bored at home.
Okay.
And wants to have another role. And so I think it's cool that he's coming back, because like you said, his tenure was a little rocky. And remember when the Chargers left and Phillip Rivers left, Will Myers was like the face. Yes.
Yeah. Which you probably didn't necessarily ask for.
No, he did not want that. I mean, that's not even his style really, but he really wants, I was listening to a little bit of what he said yesterday, and he looks back on his career. There's some things he would have done differently, he said. And then there's also some things that he wishes managers or coaches would have told him while he was playing. So he wants to impart that to the minor leaguers and help them, especially in the cage, and understanding what they need to do and how their routine should be, what their work should be. So he'll probably be in spring training like 2-3 weeks. And then he'll fly out from his home in North Carolina to a minor league affiliate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, maybe he'll come to Petco Park like once or twice this season. Buddy, I feel like we'll see, I don't know how regularly, but I feel like we'll see him more regularly than Will.
But again, like the news is so well received.
Oh, yeah.
Like you say, Buddy Black's coming back to the Padres organization. Will Myers, who, again, I think leaves San Diego as one of the fan favorites of the last decade.
Bought everyone drinks after that Dodgers win.
That was amazing.
Yeah, and really indebted himself, right, to the community. But no, it was like, 2 new acquisitions for the Padres.
Yeah.
Neither one is a player. Who knows if either one will actually like win any games for the Padres.
That's all you need to know about the offseason. Like the big move of the offseason is bring back Buddy Black and Will Myers.
But it is good positive news.
100%. And I want to talk about this Nolan Arenado news, because I think some people saw it as, oh man, the Padres are really missing out. And others are seeing it as, wow, the Padres dodged a bullet because they didn't acquire Nolan Arenado. So we'll get into that with Andy Halpern on the other side. Underway here until 6. Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. And barring any setback, it is going to happen. The deal is not finalized, though. Contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to Adam Schefter. In other NFL news, 49ers linebacker Fred Warner is progressing, but the team said he is going to be out for Saturday's divisional round game against the Seahawks. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John talks with the Aztec head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And then after the Brian Dutcher Show at 7:15, we've got Lakers basketball when the team takes on Charlotte. Tip is set for 7:30. Pro savings days are on at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and up to 50% off select ladders. Don't wait. Shop Lowe's Pro Savings Days today. Valid through 1/23. Selection varies by location. While supplies last, see associate or Lowe's.com for details.
All right, Andy Halbrin in studio. San Diego Sports 760 hanging out until around 3:30. We do have Jeff Grammer on the show from the Albuquerque News Journal at 3:30. Aztecs and Lobos coming up on Saturday at 5 p.m. Caleb Davis, the San Diego State Football's general manager, will join us at 4 p.m. We'll talk more about the portal, which has closed or is closing. And then Mikey Varas is on the show. SDFC's head coach will join us coming up at 4:30. So I think it was yesterday. I was in Laramie, and we see this news that Nolan Arenado is now a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, but the Padres are like heavily involved in this conversation until like the last moment, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't even, it's so funny when I'm out of hat, when I'm doing something else, I try to keep track of it all, but I'm like, oh, I'll read it about it tomorrow. And all of a sudden tomorrow presents stuff like, what happened with Arenado? Where is he?
It was a Ken Rosenthal piece.
Yeah.
I someone correct us if I'm wrong, but I saw it through Ken Rosenthal and saying that the Padres were in it.
They're going to move him to first base.
They were going to move him to first base, but they, according to Ken, they wanted the number to be less than it was, which is interesting if this is all true, which I know a lot of people don't like Ken, but he wrote it so confidently that I feel like in order for him to write it that confidently, he had to at least have, hopefully a few sources telling him this, or Arenado's camp,
Right, exactly.
So, but who knows, we have obviously don't hear the side from the Padres, so we don't know for sure, but they paid 31 of
42 million, right?
Yes.
So wait, they being St. Louis is paying 31, and according to Ken Rosenthal's reporting, the Padres wanted the Cardinals to pay down more of it.
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Exactly. So Arenado is owed $42 million over the next 2 seasons. Arizona will receive $31 million in that deal. He's 34. So yes, essentially the Padres didn't want to they didn't want to spend the money that way.
Okay, so they didn't want to, let's just say, because Arizona's taking on $11 million the next 2 years, which is only 5 or 6
Not
a
that
year.
much. Right.
But you then kind of look at the numbers, and Arenado, well, didn't play well last year. And you look at the last 2 or 3 years, and he's on this like downward trajectory. Now, could he refine it? It's one of those things like a chicken egg, or like, we'll never really know, like what would it have looked like in San Diego. We'll see what it looks like in Arizona. But like, I see it both ways. Adding Nolan Arenado is like, whoa, look at your infield. You got Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado and Xander Bogaerts. You have winners. Maybe that's the type of move that points you in the right direction. Or maybe are you paying for something that is like, it's not 2022 anymore.
It's so true. I see it both ways too, which we're way too rational right now. It's like
we
someone
need to
give
have
a
an
hot
opinion.
take. But no,
Jim?
he was so he had 12 home runs last year, 666 OPS, not ideal at all.
Right.
He had back issues though, and I don't look at it like Nolan Arenado is completely washed and he's never going to be good again, because how many times have we seen a player move to a different team? They have a change in scenery. We just saw it with Gavin Sheets. Someone else gets in their brain. It's, they unlock something, or maybe his back feels better. Who knows? And maybe he's never going to be the Nolan Arenado that won, 5 Silver Sluggers and so many Gold Gloves, but he still, I think, could be a really good serviceable player. And in that lineup for the Diamondbacks, sometimes that can help too, right? To be around certain guys. So they've got a decent lineup, but who they have? Ketel Marte. They have Perdomo, Corbin Carroll. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the Padres I could see why they wanted him. I think the issue with the money is if this was 2022 or whatever, 2021,
just take it.
It'd be a no-brainer. Yeah, let's take Nolan Arenado, no big deal. And we'll go get all the other things we want. the scenario they're in now is, can this money be used towards something that might be more important than getting Nolan Arenado right now, and maybe that's starting pitching, maybe that's a catcher, a backup catcher, maybe that's, so I think that they're just looking at it like, where do we put that money? But if this had been a few years ago, I think that they would have aggressively pursued it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like when you're working on a budget and you're like, in baseball budgets, you hear 5 or 6 a year. You're like, that's not a ton of money, but they've allocated a lot of money elsewhere. I mean, the Michael King thing was a little bit out of left field. I mean, that was a serious commitment to retain Michael King for at least the next year in the neighborhood of 20 or 25 a year. So on one hand, you're like, whoa, hold on. They can't add $5 or $6 million. But on the other hand, it's like, well, if you add 5 or 6 here, it's at the expense of somewhere else. Everyone works on a budget.
Exactly.
And I think the Padres at this point, I mean, to their credit, because people, fans will rip and be like, why not? Why aren't you spending more? Like, you're going to look at the Padres at the end of the year. They're going to be top 10 in payroll. They'll be over the luxury tax number. They're not getting $300 or $400 million in television like the Dodgers are. Like, the Padres are doing what they can. I'm kind of in their corner. I've been critical at times before, but it's like, how much more can they truly spend? Like, to what end are they going to spend? I understand they're over the luxury tax threshold. You're not going to just spend and spend and spend.
And they have so many things already committed. They have so many contracts that they've already committed to. Bogarts, right? Even Darvish. So Jake Cronenworth, they have so many contracts that they already have on the books that you've got to kind of look and piece. How can we best, finish the puzzle off with the money
100%.
that we have left? And they still do need some pieces. And I don't at all think that they're done. I think this is the scenario where AJ Preller is waiting for desperation time, either players seeing people going to spring training and wanting to sign and getting tired of sitting at home, or teams deciding, okay, we'll lower our price on XYZ, or, we're more interested in what you have to offer now because we need this or that. So I think he's waiting for that like desperation moment. And I say that like tongue in cheek, but when he gets closer to the season and teams really need to figure it out, everything heightens, and so you could get deals, I think, done a little bit more aggressively at that time.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like a year ago when they signed Nick Pivetta, and that was a decent amount of dollars.
Right,
but
during spring training.
That was during spring training. I mean, think about that. You're in spring training, you're envisioning what the Padres are going to look like that season, and then they make this move that on its face at the time wasn't like, oh my gosh, everything's changing, but what a savvy move.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's basically the ace of their rotation a year ago, a rotation that's dealing with injuries to Michael King and ineffectiveness from Dylan Cease, and he logs his 170 or 180 innings. He doesn't miss a start.
That's another one where change of scenery just 100%. Did him so well. Yeah,
the Arenado thing, I mean, it's hard because I saw it yesterday just in following it on social media. Some people are like, good riddance. Thankfully, they didn't land him. Look at his numbers like you read it with his sub 700 OPS. But also, it's hard for me to get away from, it's Nolan Arenado.
Yes.
Like you're adding Nolan Arenado. Yeah, not just for the sheer numbers, but like, what does he mean to a clubhouse? What does he mean to a team? Some of that it's hard to quantify what a player's worth.
So true. That's so true, John. And I know Manny really respects Nolan Arenado. The two of them have a good relationship.
Yeah, that would have been fascinating.
It would have. But I think, as long as he was okay with it, which I feel like Nolan Arenado, I mean, maybe, I don't know. He's playing third for the Diamondbacks. So maybe, did he stick his feet in?
Right, because he had a no trade, right? So did he make a decision?
He made a decision that well, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
feel like he'd be okay with going to first personally, because he is getting older and he has had health problems, and it'd be a lot easier on his body anyways. But yeah, I don't think anybody, like, I'm not like, I don't know if you're like sitting here scared, like, oh my gosh, the Diamondbacks have Nolan Arenado. I'm quivering in my sneakers here. But at the same time, I understand why the Diamondbacks picked him up and gave him $11 million over 2 years, because he could be a real benefit to them.
Like a missing piece. And it's interesting, like the dynamics matter. You go back to 2023.
Yeah.
And like,
oh yeah, oof.
The sheer dynamic it obviously played a role. And it's not to honestly disparage whether it was Manny Machado or Juan Soto or whomever. Just sometimes it's like doing a radio show. You can have an amazing relationship with someone off air that doesn't necessarily translate on air. Or you may not have the greatest relationship in the world off air with someone, but you get in the studio like, I just get it with this person. I think it's the same thing with teammates. And they do. Over the course of a career, Manny Machado is going to play with hundreds of players, right? And some you're going to get along with better than others. You have to be able to figure out those relationships and those dynamics. But I do think to myself that oftentimes I think we underappreciate the value of what a clubhouse dynamic means in a sport like baseball.
Ooh, it's so
Right?
true. And especially for baseball when they're seeing each other more than they see any of their family members. You're on the road, you're kind of sick of your teammates toward the end, and in a healthy way. You know,
Yeah,
like you need a
exactly.
little break every once in a while. And you do have to have a dynamic that is as drama free as it can be. It's not always going to be 100% drama free, but you have to at least try to be able to cultivate that kind of a clubhouse, and where guys want to show up and
Perform
put
and
in
play
the
for each
extra work.
other.
Yes, you know?
Yeah, and it's like I see it both ways. Like the infamous quote from Manny, maybe to Kevin, where he was like, "What is this high school baseball?" Where people are like, "Well, that kind of rubs you the wrong way because we want to see you as a leader, not just on the field in terms of what you produce, but someone that kind of rallies people behind you." But in the same respect, it's a fine line. You're not just in the business of having a group of 25 terrific guys. You need a good group of guys that can also perform.
Yeah.
So it's like there's this dynamic that plays out between the dynamic of the clubhouse and also an ability to perform on field.
Yeah, and you can have all the love and the kumbaya in the world, but if you're not winning games, like, okay, I'm so glad everybody's bonding.
Yeah, the Rockies may love each other, but I mean, if you're only winning 42 games.
You know? I think people underestimate too, though, like players that have longevity, like players that have been around the block for a while, because a lot of times they can figure it out. They can kind of find a resurgence again, but not everyone is washed as soon as they hit.
That's a great point. I mean, Jurickson Profar, it's like he's going to be out of baseball. Oh, resurgence in San Diego now. Out of you get it. Yeah, not a great example maybe with what played out. But it's like you have almost 9 lives sometimes. It's like
you do
before you count someone out. I mean, Nolan Arenado is a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Yes.
Now health matters obviously for a player, but if he can get healthier, can he put together a good year? Yeah, I'd probably bet on him being able to put together a good year. On the other side, I want to talk about something that came out earlier today regarding the World Baseball Classic that we will discuss on the other side. Andy's going to hang out until 3:30. Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal will join us at 3:30. We'll get into San Diego State and New Mexico, this critical game on Saturday at Viejas. In fact, we have 2 tickets we'll give away later in the 3 o'clock hour as well. Brian Dutcher will join us at 6 p.m. with the Brian Dutcher Show. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Annie Halpern hanging out. Not my new co-host.
I am not the new co-host.
But for today she is.
Yeah.
Until 3:30, Annie is hanging out.
Moonlighting.
So, what's that?
Moonlighting.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Moonlighting. You can moonlight every day from 2 to 6. How does that sound? So I saw today, and actually I immediately texted Jim. So I saw today Clayton Kershaw is going to pitch in the WBC. And I'm like,
did he retire?
Yeah, I'm like, the WBC has lost credibility for me. Like, is this a competition, or is this like, hey, let's celebrate the life and career of Clayton Kershaw? What do you got?
Why does Clayton Kershaw hate America?
That's what I got out of that. Clayton Kershaw hate
He's
America?
trying to. He wants us to lose. What is he doing?
What's your reaction to that?
I forgot that you just reminded me in the break that he did pitch during the the World Series, and that he
had like a big inning.
Right, he had a big inning and part of the win and all that. But haven't we celebrated this guy like for the last, I feel like the last 5 years? It seems like he's going to retire every year, and then there's like a Clayton Kershaw. Could this be the last game?
Right.
Could this be the last time? You know. Plus, he was the honorary. He did something honorary for the All-Star game.
Yes.
It's just, I feel like we've hit our limit. Like
we've celebrated him a lot.
And believe me, amazing career. I mean,
certainly against San Diego.
Yeah, well, against San Diego, and I think, what is it, like 17 years or something?
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's numbers insane to be able to pitch that long in the major leagues is absolutely impressive by every measuring stick. But
like, why are you gearing up for the WBC? Like, you went out on a high note. Like, you've won another World Series. Congratulations. You know, like, again, has he been maligned? Yeah. Has he been maligned for postseasons? Yes. But he goes out with all these World Series, all is good. And now you want to pitch in the WBC. Well, like the WBC for me, I'm not anti-WBC. It's just I'm kind of anti-WBC if it impacts your local club negatively. And my mind always goes back to 2023 when the Padres weren't good. They had a lot of players leave for the WBC. Darvish barely pitched that WBC and then was banged up. Xander Bogaerts played for like Team Netherlands. They're like players all over the place. And all of a sudden you come together and the season starts a couple of days later and it feels like they never really found their footing. It's not to blame it on the WBC. Somebody won the World Series that year, but it's like, I'm fine with it until it like impacts your team negatively.
No, but to your point, the Padres addressed it. Like they talked about it, like that they learned from that 2023 year. So even though you don't blame the whole season on that, it bothered them enough that they decided that they're going to do it a little differently this year. And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like for them, but it was enough for them to communicate about, hey, WBC is back. Players are going to be going all over. We have a new manager. We've got to figure out how to collectively get this group together and bond it as best as possible, right? Before everybody splits up, because it definitely affects how things go from spring training on and into the season. For Clayton Kershaw too, I just wonder, like, there's some, so that means that some young player or some other player didn't get, yes. And it's like, how many WBCs? I feel like he's probably done.
He's probably been on all of them.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not saying like, look, if you've earned it, you've earned it. You should be able to have as many Super Bowls or as many WBCs or whatever as you want. But it does seem a little odd that you retired. Didn't he officially retire?
He retired. Like, yeah, but he's like, just kidding. I'll be back. Do you think
he's like Jim?
He's like, is Jim coming back?
Come back. I don't know.
Is the WBC at the point? I guess it is. I mean, it commands a large threshold of stars, right? Like you look at like the Dominican team is going to have, I mean, I don't even know, but like a loaded lineup, and then the American team.
Mason Miller's going this year for the first time.
Exactly. So I mean, I think
it's something that the big stars want to participate in.
Right.
Manny does, Xander, Fernando, they want to do it. It means a lot to all these players to be part of it. Yeah,
which again, I respect that. And I have seen it grow. I remember when it first came out, I'm like, what is this?
I know.
What are we doing? And I've never been a big fan of like when you have like you're in competition and there's all these like restrictions, like, well, you can only throw 50 pitches. Yeah. And we're going to start the 7th inning with a runner at second. I don't even know what the rules are, but it was in San Diego, obviously, one of the more iconic moments of the WBC. Like
Adam Jones and Manny and
So, I mean, will I watch? Yeah, to some extent, but I don't watch it like I watch Major League Baseball.
I don't think you're going to be fixated on every game.
Are you sitting there watching Great Britain and Israel? I mean,
right.
You watching France and
honestly, I watch it from the lens of what Padres players are on what teams and what are they doing, right?
Yep.
Because it is kind of hard too to keep up with all the different times and places and every,
I much prefer. Did you have you when you were working, whether it was UT or on television, did you ever travel to any of the international destinations that the Padres played in Mexico?
No, I was not fortunate enough to be able to do that.
I like that a little. Honestly, I like that more. Like the Padres are playing again in Mexico City, right?
Yes.
Like, I like that. Like you open a season in Korea or Japan. Now it was like, remember when they opened the season at like 3 a.m.?
Oh my gosh. That was 2 years ago. Yeah.
We did wrap-up shows. We were such idiots. We were the entire game.
Didn't the Padres win?
They lost the first game when the ball went through Jake Cronenworth's glove.
Yes.
Remember that?
We thought that was an omen for the season.
Yeah. So and then the next day they won like Manny Homer. They scored like 15 runs.
Yeah.
So I think they split the 2 games and it was a 4-hour game, but we did wrap-up shows for the entire thing. We're like watch party from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Did one of you fall asleep?
I fell asleep. The second day.
I did not wake up for it.
I don't blame you. The second day, I think the Aztecs were in Spokane for the NCAA tournament. They were.
Yeah.
And they won a game against like UAB. And then we did the first night. I was up all night. I was in my hotel room. I was trying to be really quiet because I'm like, I don't want to wake someone next door. It's like Lamont Butler next door. And I'm talking about like this Korean baseball game. And so the next night, I'm like, Jim, it was like 3 innings in. It was like 3 a.m. I'm in Spokane, Washington, in my hotel room. Like, I'm out, dude.
Yeah.
But he stayed on for like 4.5 hours. And they won like 15-12.
That's like the people that get up and watch the not the MLS, the soccer, like the Premier League and all that stuff. And they're
or like when the World Cup is somewhere else around the world and the matches are. I've never really been that dedicated to anything.
I actually do remember now because the station across the street, they had a watch party too. But I didn't make it to the watch party, but I did watch the game. But it was
I wouldn't blame if you didn't. Like, it's so weird to watch something live at like 3 a.m.
It is kind of odd.
You're like, I told myself I would do this. Then all of a sudden you're doing it. You're like, I need to sleep. Like to stay up until 6. It impacts your whole next day.
Well, you got a show.
You got a show to do.
You're
and
be
all
tired
this
for your
stuff.
show.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of much prefer the like international games as opposed to the W. Like it doesn't
they
mean
count
anything.
too. I mean, the international games, like.
Are you going to feel differently about like the Padres or your baseball fandom if Team US wins the WBC this year?
No. Honestly, I don't even know if we remember. Well, I think it was Japan. Like that. I'm sure.
There was the theater last time
Japan won last
between
time.
Ohtani and Trout.
Yeah.
It's like ended with Ohtani facing Trout. Cool, good moment. But again, I'd much prefer, I've always said this, I'd much prefer the Padres in the World Series or winning a World Series to Team USA winning the WBC.
It is also hard because you've got to, so as spring training, you ramp up, like you ramp up your throwing, you ramp up, you have a certain number of ABs you want to hit that makes you feel comfortable. And like, sometimes, like you said, certain guys don't get to pitch that much, or they don't get to, they're not in the lineup all the time. So there's a balancing act too of how do we use this guy or how do we not overuse him, because I think that Craig Stammen does get to have, like, I don't know how much of a say that the certain managers have, because ultimately, I guess if you're who is Team USA's manager? I have no idea. But if you're him, he wants to win, I'm sure, exhibition or not, you want to win for your country and all that stuff. So I think it'll be interesting.
DeRosa?
Oh, Mark DeRosa.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to take a sabbatical from his MLB network
to go manage,
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, I'm 100% with you. It's, again, I can deal with it, but it's also the worst that inevitably someone is getting hurt.
Right.
Hopefully not Padre.
Remember when trumpet guy?
Edwin Diaz.
It
was ridiculous. Like he blew out his knee
in the celebration circle. I felt so bad.
That's the absolute worst.
But I mean, I think it's like the pomp and the circumstance of it all exciting, right? Like, and not everybody talking about representing their country and how meaningful it is and everything. But then once it starts playing and you're getting into the nitty gritty, I don't think most people are watching like every detail of every game. It's like, when is the player coming back to camp?
Yeah, like, oh, good. Team Netherlands lost, so my player can come back 100%. I want to get your thoughts. You spent a lot of time covering Craig Stammen, obviously, when he was with the Padres. I want to get your thoughts on the newest Padre manager on the other side. Annie Halpern hanging out until 3:30. Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal will join us coming up at 3:30. Caleb Davis, San Diego State football GM, will join us at 4. And Mikey Varis is on the show coming up at 4:30, the SDFC head coach who just got an extension. We are here until 6. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not finalized, according to Adam Schefter. Contract numbers are still being negotiated, but barring any setbacks, it looks like it's going to happen. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win at Wyoming and more. And then after the Brian Dutcher Show at 7:15, we've got Lakers basketball when the team takes on the Hornets. The tip is set for 7:30. On one other NFL note, 49ers linebacker Fred Warner, the team says he's progressing, but he is still going to be out this Saturday for their divisional round game against the Seahawks. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, hour 2 here until 6. Brian Dutcher Show coming up at 6 p.m. Dutch will join us live. Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, will join us at 3:30. Aztecs and Lobos Saturday night at VA House. We'll give away some tickets for that huge game coming up later this hour. Caleb Davis, San Diego State's football GM, will join us at 4. And Mikey Varas, SDFC head coach, is going to join the show today at 4:30. And we have Annie Halpern in studio for the next 30 minutes or so.
So great to be here.
It is so good to have you
fun
here.
Hour. Yeah.
We should just do this every day. Just like this.
See you tomorrow.
Annie is not my new co-host, but Annie was kind enough to swing by for an hour or so here this afternoon. It's fun catching up, talking some Padres baseball. It's like in San Diego, it's never like you're thawing out. So it's like sometimes I wake up, I'm like, what month is it? You know what I mean? But I'm like, but the Padres aren't playing.
Right.
So it's still the off season, but today would be like the nicest day in Padres history. If
it's like so perfect outside right now.
So perfect.
It's summer weather outside right now.
I know, it's crazy. It's so warm.
What did you do? What do you do in Laramie?
What do I do
what
in
is there
Laramie?
to do? Yes.
I mean, okay, have you been to the state of Wyoming in life? I mean, why would you?
I feel like I haven't.
Have you not driven through it?
Maybe driven through it, like on a trip with my parents or something.
You know what's interesting about Laramie specifically? There's this. If you followed the dynamic of like San Diego State athletics over the last, where are you a graduate of?
San Diego State.
You're San Diego State grad?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Well,
it's so funny. There's a lot of people that went to San Diego State that I don't know that they went there.
I went to like 5 different colleges.
Oh, you were like the transfer portal before the portal?
I was like testing out the portal before the portal happened, except I didn't have a sport.
Wait, you just bounced around college?
Yeah,
why?
I started at UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And then at that time I taught dance, and they didn't have dance up there. And I was stupid. Okay. And because I think I just should have, who leaves Santa Barbara? Okay.
Yeah, it's like amazing.
And the college of UCSB. But I was like, well, I really want to come back and teach dance and get, go into journalism and whatever. And so I came back and then I bounced around. I was at UCSD. I was at UCSD. Then I was at San Diego State, and like in between, I was making up classes, some undergrad classes that didn't transfer at the community college schools, like just to try to get them done. Like
you were,
it was
like
so
modern college football before modern college football.
And I'm sure I had an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah,
it took me longer.
But
I
is your
ended at San
degree?
Diego
So
State.
you have a San Diego State degree.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you're familiar with like the dynamic between San Diego State and Wyoming. Have you followed this at all? As in, the future of San Diego State athletics is in the new Pac-12, right? So San Diego State,
not in
and it's
Laramie,
not with Wyoming,
right?
And a lot of it, like the way the fans look at it, is like San Diego State doesn't want to play Wyoming because it's not because it's Wyoming. It's because San Diego State's in Southern California. Do we understand how hard it is? Like this is 1,100 miles, but it's a world away. Because
altitude,
you got to get to Denver, and then you got a bus. And
wait, so we
chartered.
So a charter, you
go right in.
But otherwise, you're doing all kinds of transfers.
Mark Ziegler wrote something this week about the final trip to Laramie. He's like, until 2012, and Steve Fisher basically like pushed it through or worked with the university. They didn't charter any sport. They weren't chartering basketball anywhere.
It's crazy.
And then once they started chartering, even they were on these small charters that still needed to like stop to get like gas on the way from Laramie to San Diego. They'd have to stop on the way home. But And again, it's not San Diego State is not leaving the Mountain West because Wyoming is in the Mountain West, but there's like this perception that San Diego State never wants to play.
San Diego State can't handle it.
Wyoming, but it's not. But yet, San Diego State's had a lot of success against Wyoming in athletics. But Brian Dutcher,
who wants to go? Who wants to
deal
with that?
It's not personal. It's just it's far. It's at 7,000 feet of elevation.
And doesn't it take up their charter flights? Like they only
it's like you only get a couple a year, and that's where you're going to use it.
Yeah.
And who wants to? You get there, I get off the bus, I'm like, I can't breathe, and I'm not even doing anything.
Exactly. Plus the altitude. I mean, if you ask Padres players, hey, do you want to add some more Rockies games in Colorado? No.
Hitters, yes.
Hitters, yes.
No.
Okay, maybe hitters, yes. But even the altitude will catch up for them sometimes, right? But yeah, exactly.
So, like, anyway, the point being, what did I do in Laramie?
Yeah, what did you do in Laramie?
Drink beet juice.
Yeah, did you get a can of oxygen as well?
You saw that. So Dutch was handed a can of oxygen from the Wyoming head
I did
coach
think that was hilarious.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, it was like a gag gift.
It's a perfect Dutch.
It was good.
Right,
it was good. And Dutch handled it really well. But so we got there, and the weather was like spectacular. Like normally, everyone's like, I've never seen weather like this. It's always windy, or it's always cold, or it's always snowy. But it's tough being a vegetarian in Laramie, Wyoming.
So you're a vegetarian.
Yeah. So I was like eating like Jimmy John's veggie sandwiches. That was basically my trip.
Just bread and like shredded cabbage or whatever shredded lettuce.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because too, when you travel, it's like you get, because you're like in press boxes.
And I'm mostly vegan, so I know how hard that is. Yes. Mostly. I'm mostly plant-based, so I won't eat meat. But I'll have every once in a while. Like I'll have cheese. Not a lot, but I'll have like chocolate, and then I'll have some dairy in it.
Okay, so you're kind of like, I'm like a fake vegetarian.
Yeah,
where
I'm
I'll
like
have,
a fake vegan.
And you're a fake vegan. I'll occasionally have fish. Like I'd have sushi.
I'll occasionally have fish too. Yeah.
I like making my own rules.
I'm really not vegan at all, actually.
It's exactly. It's like me. It's like me. But isn't it hard sometimes? You'll be like in a press box or you're traveling.
Yes.
And you're like, I don't know, they put out like sandwiches. And there's no veggie sandwich. You're like, I'm not going to eat this.
Or if there's a veggie sandwich, it's literally like,
the
bread, a ton of mayonnaise, and like some like tomato slices.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what is this? What is this? So how long have you been vegetarian, vegan?
So I was hardcore vegan for like, I would say like the last, for about like 5 years, I was hardcore vegan. And then like maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I loosened that up a little bit and did the kind of more pescatarian. So I would add in fish. And then I did, unfortunately, I did get in the cheese. I like went down the cheese road for a while, but I'm off that road again. Like
the cheese is so good.
I know it's so good. That's the problem. It's like addicting. But so anyways, now I'm like, I guess you would call it plant-based. I don't know. Like it's like I'm mostly, like tofu,
we're
legumes.
Like twins.
Yeah. And then every once in a while I'll have like a piece of salmon or something.
Yeah. Jim would look at me like I had 4 heads, and Brent the same way. Like,
He just did.
He's like ashamed that we're having this conversation.
But there are certain parts of the country that I agree with you. Like you cannot, like they don't have a lot of. San Diego's good for it. LA is good for it, but Laramie exactly. They're not going to have anything. For
it's like, in fact, there was a.
They're going to be like, what?
It's so funny. There was a tweet yesterday. Mark Ziegler tweeted they have So I'm at this arena. This is like a 50-year-old arena in the middle of Laramie. Old, like I don't even know how to describe it. And I'm walking the concourse before the game because in the media room, they had sandwiches, but they were all meat, which is fine. That was my expectation. So I went to the concourse. I'm like, maybe I'll find, I don't know, personal pan pizza or like something that's, I can eat. So I get up to the concourse. The first of all, there's no one on the concourse. There's no one there. It's like semester break. It's in Wyoming. There's no one there.
I read that. There was only like the swim team there or whatever.
Swim team's there, like in like the togas and like their swimsuits. But the first thing I see is sushi. Like, but the last thing I'm going to eat is I have no chance. Am I eating sushi before this broadcast?
Not at all.
But I actually found
getting on a plane.
Exactly. I'm like, this could be the worst thing. So
personal pan pizza, that's good.
Right.
If I'm traveling, I will loosen my, like, sometimes there's just not that much. You just don't have that many choices.
I mean, you can't
you have to
But this is
not going to kill you.
Here's what I need to know. Wait, so if you're a San Diego State grad, are you an Aztec fan?
Yes, I'm an Aztec fan. I just working for the Union Tribune and coming up in journalism,
right. You're more like doing
unbiased,
your
job. Right. Yes, you do your job.
Have you covered much San Diego State in your career?
Not since I would say like the last 3 or 4 years, but before that I did. Like it was a lot of the basketball games and football games and as much as we could. I could never, with San Diego State, I could never really get like one-on-ones or things like that unless they had media day, you know? So I feel like that's kind of where I would take my stuff more to like the, Chargers, Padres, whatever. But no, I was general sports for the UT for many years. It's just, there's a pecking order like there is with every job in terms of, if you only have so many multimedia journalists or photographers or writers or whatever, how is like, what's the number one thing that we need to cover?
Right.
So versus if they had like a dedicated multimedia person for San Diego State, like I'm sure there would have been a lot more coverage in that respect.
So you wanted to be a journalist.
Yes.
I mean, you are a journalist, but you went to, but you went to school for journalism.
Yes. So I went to school for journalism like back then. I'm sure it's so much better now. Where did you graduate from?
Penn State.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good,
but it's not really,
yeah.
I think it was maybe for broadcast journalism a little bit.
Did you do I did print journalism.
I did too. I didn't do anything in broadcasting until I graduated college.
And then you were like, I'm ready to be on air.
But I had no clue what I was doing. You know what I mean? It's like anything. It's like I just got a job in minor league baseball as like interning.
And then you worked your way into play-by-play?
Yeah, I got one of those jobs where it's like you do everything else. It was like
especially
media communications. And then I was like the second play-by-play guy. Like there was a main guy and I would do like a couple of innings. But literally the first time I ever did any play-by-play in my life was a minor league baseball game. My partner was like, all right, fourth inning, you're good. I'm like, what am I doing? But it's like, trial by fire.
You have to. That's how you learn. It really is. And the more reps you get, the better you get at it.
You wanted to be a print.
I wanted to be print. I loved writing, but then I wanted to be broadcast. Yeah. So like it was kind of, for me, the best. I loved it the best when I did both. When I was on the Padres broadcast, but then I was also writing for the newspaper. You get to kind of scratch both itches, so you get to do both. But I love broadcast, honestly, now. I think I would lean more towards that just because you just get to show your personality a little more.
And the world's kind of leaned more towards like visual or audio and less like written word.
And you can always write. I mean, you can always find a place to put your words down somewhere, whether it's, 300 words on Twitter like some people do, or it's a blog or it's whatever. But I'm very grateful to the Union Tribune because I've been in and out of there for like my entire life, for like 100 years now. And they welcome me back and we just jump right back into writing. And I learned, honestly, like I've learned so much being in print because you have to learn like that, how to be in a clubhouse and the accuracy and deadlines. And
I don't think I'm not a deadline person.
I
like doing it in real time radio and then being done with it.
Right.
The idea of, and I told you off air, I did something for MLB 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In New York City, where you wouldn't start the job until the baseball game finished. It'd be like Guardians Padres, or at the time Indians Padres. And then they packaged the 3-minute highlights, and I would have to then go into a studio and voice over the highlights, and you had to do it on it was like 1 a.m. because it would be like San Diego was 10 p.m., 1 a.m. in New York, and they needed to get online within like an hour. Man, I dreaded it. That's just like, oh my gosh, and then you do it, and then they'd be like, oh, you said Will Myers is hitting 4 or 5. We'd prefer 6 of 8.
And then you got to re-record.
Revoice. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's something about deadline. I mean, it brings out maybe the best. I mean, it really gets you like in a zone, but it's also like stressful.
Anxiety, complete anxiety. And then I think it's almost worse too when you're doing features or whatever, and you have forever to tinker on something. There's probably a happy medium between the deadline and the forever.
The features like I've been working on this for weeks,
right? And you're just tinkering, and you're like, what do I add? What do I? It's like it never ends. So you need a deadline at some point, but those kinds of ones are super stressful, right? Where you're talking about where it's like you
got to go,
and then they find something wrong with it, and you got to do it again, and.
All right, I want to get Andy's thoughts on Craig Stammen as the next Padres manager on the other side. She's going to hang out for another 10 or 15 minutes. Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque News Journal gets us ready for San Diego State and New Mexico on Saturday at Viejas. We've got Aztec tickets to give away for Saturday as well. Stay with us. San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, John Schaefer, Andy Halburn for another 15 minutes. Jeff Grammer is going to join us from the Albuquerque Journal. We'll talk about San Diego State, New Mexico on Saturday. Would you remind you, San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Bonus Bucks giveaway. That's every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up at 4 p.m. Craig Stammen.
Good dude.
So, he's been around the organization for years and years as a player, then in and out of their front office, now as their manager. I mean, when you heard that he was interviewing and then he's the next manager of the Padres, what was your reaction?
I was surprised. I was very shocked.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't even see it coming.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he saw it coming.
Right.
But no, he started his career, he was a starter with the Nationals.
Yep. And
then came to the Padres. And I think he hangs his hat on that he was only with 2 teams. I want to say it was like 14, 15-year career. He had a good career. Good career,
yep.
like good longevity. And he could have gone even farther, but his arm, he had that one final surgery, and I think that did him in. But very respected. All that you hear is true. Very respected in the clubhouse amongst different cliques. So the position players or the Latin players or the rookies, the veterans, he's very respected. He was always kind of like that bridge guy between the coaches and the players anyways when he was playing. But he was a good player. I mean, you look at Craig and the longevity was there. Very good about his routines and how he went about his business. So he's going to, be good in that sense of kind of what players need. I think it's good to have a guy who understands a bullpen because he'll be able to at least understand workloads and whether or not to use guys back to back and reading between the lines, because no guy's going to tell you that he doesn't want to go.
Right.
He's always
exactly.
he's always going to be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. But you've got to know kind of when to pull back the reins. And Ruben is great about that as well. And I think that dynamic's going to be interesting because I think we're going to see Ruben, do some of the media sessions sometimes or give Craig a little bit of a blow, to borrow a Mike Schilt phrase, and give him, kind of step in and assume the role of manager every so often, the things that we would see Craig doing. So watching that dynamic play out, I think it will be good, but I think it will add a new wrinkle into what it looks like for the manager position for the Padres. I think look, wonderful guy. And I don't say that lightly. I don't like to say guys are good guys because I don't know what they're, I just don't know what they're like when they go home. They could be terrible guys when they
seemingly,
go home. Seemingly, I know his wife pretty well and their family and he cares. He wants the best for people. He is stern. Like he has a point of view. He will have a way of wanting things to be done. And I think that he will have that accountability of like, come on, you can do this. Cause that's kind of how he was as a player. Like I remember, who was the bullpen guy? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but it's,
coach or reliever?
No, reliever, long hair,
Hater?
No.
Matt Strom?
No. God. This is like
reliever dude with long hair? Put it in the chat.
He is
how recently?
I want to say maybe from Colombia.
Colombian Padres reliever?
Yeah, put it in there. Please someone put it in the chat.
Colombian
you know what I'm talking
Padres
about? Really
reliever.
goofy. Like really
Hold on, let's see.
I talk to him on Instagram all the time.
Andres Munoz.
No. Oh my God, chat, help me.
Let's see.
It starts with an N.
It starts with an N.
I want to say I can't get on the internet.
Abel?
This is going to bother me so much.
Oh, who? No, Nabil Krismat.
Yes, Krismat.
How was that even to think of that? It's like the most random person. I thought you were going for like.
How do you forget this
star
guy?
reliever?
No, but the point being, so Nabil Krismat, very much like the class clown.
Okay.
All right, very much, and he would give Craig Stammen gray hairs. I mean, this guy would like.
That's
but
funny.
Craig was kind of one of the only ones that could sort of corral him. Like he made Nabil Krismat. Thank you, by the way, for that.
That was our chat.
Thank you, chat. I was never gonna get in. It was right on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, he was kind of like his his guiding light a little bit, because Nabil would be all over the place and in and out and whatever. And so Craig, in that respect, I think it's like, he can kind of rein guys in and also hold their feet to the fire. What does that mean as a manager? Does that mean he's going to be great? I don't know.
And what is even great?
Yeah.
I mean, how much of it is because of what
Right.
because of your team, or how much is it because of your abilities to bring people together? I mean, what I find interesting is, like, to your point from earlier, like he's leaning a little bit on these veteran types, whether it's Mike Schilt, who's now not even in the organization, or maybe it'll be Buddy Black. But to some extent, and that's important, you're going to need to have an ear to go to because you've never done something before. That makes sense.
Right.
But also on the other hand, it's like, I want you to be you. Like Mike Schilt had his pros and cons. I mean, he's a successful manager and he would have been welcome back, obviously, in 2026. They won at a good clip, but it's like, but Craig Stammen isn't supposed to be Mike Schilt. I mean, I understand going to Mike Schilt for certain things, but it's almost like, I want you to be you. I say the same thing in broadcasting. It's like, you can't be, you just got to be you. Like, I can't have Jim try to be Brent or Brent try to be me. You just got to be you sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think Stammen is that way. I think that he's going to find his voice and stick with it. And the good thing is he's seen quite a few managers come through during his playing time and he knows what's good or not. And I think, I was talking to a few players about it at the end of last year. And a big thing with them is don't be someone different at the beginning and, like everything is great. You're in spring training. Everybody loves one another. Oh man, I can't wait for you to have a great season. I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. But then when the stress hits or the losing streak hits or things go downhill, the personality changes.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're not talking to someone so much. You're not, tapping them on the shoulder like you did before. And I think Craig Stammen will be good about that. Like understanding that he has to be the same guy. There will be, I'm sure, some stumbles here and there because how could there not be in any new job that anybody does in this world? But I think that's what you like you said, that's why you try to surround yourself and get back up and keep it moving as best as you can. But the player thing too is a big deal. Like I remember asking Will Myers once, like what makes a good hitting coach? And he's like, good hitters.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% right. Yeah.
Do you think that way with players a lot? Like a manager, if you have a good clubhouse, a manager can kind of ruin it in a way, like in terms of, if you have good players and they just, maybe they don't implement a good system or they don't, they let things fester in there or whatever. But if you have good players and a decent manager, you should have a good runway to have a good shot.
And they have a chance where he is, I think he'll be a good manager. How good? What is the overall
what's the learning
value
curve?
of it? What's the learning curve? 100%. Annie, thank you so much for swinging by.
This was super fun. I'll come back and do it again.
Perfect. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Just kidding.
I'll just surprise you one day and stand outside the window.
Please do. We will have Annie Halpern back with us. Seriously appreciate you swinging by here this afternoon. We're going to switch gears. Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, gets us ready for the Aztecs and the Lobos on the other side. Plus, we give away San Diego State basketball tickets for Saturday night. Coming up next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not final, and the contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. But barring any setbacks, it looks like it's going to happen. In NFL news, 49ers linebacker Fred Warner is ruled out this week, despite making progress with his injury, but he's ruled out for Saturday's game against the Seahawks. And sort of breaking news from the NFL, Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, he left practice today with an oblique injury. The team expects him to play this Saturday, but they have listed him as questionable now. Tonight at 6:00, it's the Brian Dutcher Show on San Diego Sports 760. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And then after the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 7:15, we got Lakers basketball and the team takes on the Hornets. Tip is set for 7:30. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, believe it or not, we have 2 free tickets for Saturday's showdown at Viejas Arena, San Diego State and New Mexico. One of the great rivalries in the history of this league, renewed Saturday with so many storylines. And it is great right now to connect with Jeff Grammer, who has covered the Lobos in Albuquerque for a long time. Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque News Journal, back with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Jeff, we'll get into this Saturday. I just want to start with the Lobos in general. They've been awfully impressive under the former UCSD head coach, Eric Olin. You've had a front row seat. What's been most impressive about this climb that they're on this year under their first year head coach?
They're doing it with a roster full of who's that guy? Really? Another D2 transfer? Are we kidding me? Like, that's not Donovan Dent. That's not JT Toppin. That's not Nelly Jr. Joseph. And yet they're sitting there at 15-3, 5-1. Their losses are, not that bad. I mean, one of them is a quad 3 right now, but it's a rivalry road loss to New Mexico State in like game 5 of this entirely new roster of the season. It was an entirely new roster and coaching staff. And then 4th, 5th game of the season, they go and lose to a in-state rival on the road. It was a 2-point game in the final minute. Ended up being, I think, 8-point differential. But, that's not the worst loss in the world. They lose to a Nebraska team that's top 10 and still undefeated. And then they do lose on the road at Boise. In a game, they played great defense. They held Boise State to like 32% shooting or something crazy like that. They just were even worse on offense. But, like, their 3 losses aren't bad. They're doing it with the Jake Hall, who was recruited by UC San Diego since he was 14, and people in that area certainly know him well. Scored 3,000 points in high school, but he wasn't exactly recruited by anybody else. That includes San Diego State for understandable reasons. I mean, the first thing you look for at San Diego State is who's he going to defend, and the question, you get thrown out the off the list pretty high or pretty quickly rather, when the question is who's he going to defend. And Jake Hall's been fantastic as a traditional freshman. They got a non-traditional freshman in Tomislav Buljan, played 3 years professionally in Croatia. And now he's a double-double machine. And then they got one other true freshman from Prescott, Arizona, who's 5'10". I mean, who's going to recruit that? Not many. And those 3 freshmen make them the only team in the country right now with 3 freshmen averaging double-figure scoring. And it's not what you see in 2025-26 basketball is a team full of freshmen really doing it, and a brand new team. It's been impressive. The highs aren't there like they were under Patino when you'd have emotional Jalen House moments. Viejas Arena is certainly aware of those, but the lows aren't there either when you'd have Jalen House moments like Viejas Arena has seen as well. They don't implode. They do have some good, nice runs where the pit gets going and goes crazy, but they don't have anybody that's out there pounding their chest and just going crazy. So he just keeps them at such an even keel. They're a really good team. They don't really hurt themselves that often, and they're just playing really well, man. Their defense actually right now, surprisingly to many, I'm sure, is ranked number 1 in KenPom in league play. They're doing really well defensively. So it's been fascinating to watch Eric put an entire roster together because he was starting at 0, not one returner. We're talking strength coach, athletic trainer. The sports information director, Steve Kirkland, is back, and 2 student managers. nobody else, not one ops guy or anything. And so Eric got to put this entire roster together piece by piece, how he wants it to fit his little formula in his head. And as you guys know, he's really into analytics. He has a pretty specific kind of thing he's looking for, and he did it, and it was with a bunch of guys that fans here were like, oh my goodness, what have we gotten into? What's going on here? And just not a bunch of really highly heralded guys.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But again, he has a system that's been tried and true going back to his days, obviously, in San Diego at UCSD. Jeff Grammer is with us from the Albuquerque Journal. Again, the Aztecs and Lobos for the first time in the regular season this year, Saturday at 5 from Viejas Arena. We have some tickets to give away. We'll do that later in the hour. This game, as you know, Jeff, and I don't know if all of our listeners do, but I mean, serious San Diego ties with Olin. You mentioned Jake Hall. There's Chris Howell, Luke Hopt as well. What do you? Where do you even go with this? I mean, you cover this team, you write. I mean, there's so many San Diego ties heading into Saturday, right?
Yeah, and I think all the family of all those people and all the connections for all those people are going to be there, and make it a big. And it probably matters to the players an awful lot. Like I really think it does. Like they may say the right things. I got to tell you, I don't think it matters that much to Eric because as I kind of said, as boring as sometimes some people feel it is, he just doesn't. He's been really good at not making a game bigger than it needs to be or less than it needs to be. That's why they went into Air Force and ended up beating them by the largest road margin that UNM's had in a Mountain West game, because that really bad Air Force team has been one where the Lobos have gotten up by 20 and then ended up winning by like 11 because they kind of let up a little bit, right? Like he just doesn't really seem to care from game to game who the opponent is. He looks at it on paper and figures out, okay, this is going to be our game plan. Let's go figure it out, and then kind of moves on from there. I don't think Eric actually cares that much about it, but obviously all the other pieces do. That Jake Hall, whether he says it or not, I'm sure he wishes he would have been recruited by the marquee team in town, and he really wasn't. I think there are other guys there that probably, in an honest moment, would tell you, yeah, San Diego State didn't recruit us. We remember, and so, yeah, I think it matters to a whole lot of people. I actually don't think it matters that much to Eric, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. I go back to just recent history. There were some really unbelievable games between San Diego State and UCSD, including a game in La Jolla at UCSD after the Aztecs played for a national championship. That next year, they followed through their commitment to play at UCSD, and they came within, a half second of losing. They had a Jaden Ledee putback at the buzzer that saved them from losing to UCSD in just a ridiculous game where the Aztecs, I think, came back from 10, 12, or 14 down in the final 5 or 6 minutes. Jeff Grammer's with us right now from the Albuquerque Journal. How do you feel about the league right now? I mean, it's a good league. Once again, I don't know if it'll be rewarded the same way it's been rewarded the last 3 years with all the at-large teams. How do you see it right now? Obviously, Utah State where they are, New Mexico and San Diego State on solid footing. How do you feel about the league, the top of the league, and their chances for multiple bids, whatever the number might be?
Yeah, I don't think 4 years of getting 4 or more isn't going to happen, but I do think 3 is realistic. It's obviously still kind of comes down to who takes advantage of the road opportunities like New Mexico has this week, and who doesn't hurt themselves with some home losses like San Diego State faces this week. Although this one wouldn't be a bad one because New Mexico is 42 right now in the net, and I do think that it ends up getting 3. If I'm power ranking the league right now, I'm going Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico. But if I'm kind of using it as tiers, I'm putting Utah State up there, and I'm putting San Diego State and New Mexico kind of on the equal tier, just a step behind what I've seen from Utah State. Although Utah State's certainly shown some flaws and some vulnerability, I do think that what they've done to date is worthy of kind of being in its own little tier at the top right now. But I think New Mexico and San Diego State right now, all things considered, are pretty clearly, in my mind anyway, on a second tier in that 2-3 spot. And I just think the rest of the league still has some proving to do. Nevada was obviously off to a really good start, but I don't know that they're going to get over the hump. They might be that 4th team that gets a bye in the Mountain West tournament. But, Boise State's got to be the story of the league right now, right? As good as Utah State's doing, Boise State's got to be the story of the league right now. That one, and they are the only loss that New Mexico has. New Mexico went to Boise and lost. The only win Boise has is against this Lobo team that I'm saying I think is pretty good. And yet Boise State is just an awful team right now. It's been pretty remarkable to see in my mind.
Especially the way it's played out. They had San Diego State beaten after being out of a game. I mean, they trailed 42-18, as you know. Then they truly had San Diego State beaten probably multiple times late, regulation, then overtime, and they just could not finish off the game. And it feels like that hangover has just completely spiraled their season. We'll see if they can recover from it. Speaking of the Aztecs, I'm curious, Jeff, just to get your thoughts. San Diego State, typically they'll take advantage of one of those non-conference opportunities and rely heavily on that from an at-large perspective, whether it's like a Houston last year or wins over Creighton historically. There have been so many wins over Power 4 opponents in the non-conference historically. They didn't really do that this year. What are your impressions, though, of the way San Diego State has gone from where they were to start the year to where they are right now?
Well, so when we're talking March and Selection Sunday, obviously they got some ground to gain. I think, like I said, I would say they're a slightly better team than New Mexico right now, but New Mexico right now would probably have a better chance at getting in the NCAA tournament right now. They obviously have a higher net, just a little bit and stuff like that. But it's because, like you said, while they played those top tier teams, they weren't able to come away with just one really good non-conference win. And I would say that San Diego State they better not, overlook the road chances at the pit later this year at Utah State, and Utah State coming to Viejas, obviously, because they're so high in the rankings right now, would be another one. But like they need to make sure they get a couple of these feathers in the caps just to make it comfortable. I think they're going to end up with enough wins in a solid Mountain West and a good Mountain West that they probably won't be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. But man, it's not going to be because of a handful of really, really good wins. This is going to have to be a season where they just don't have many hiccups, right? The Troy one was bad, but they better not get picked off like last night in Laramie. That was a good one to come away with, right? They better not get picked off in one of those kind of games if they don't want to sweat out Selection Sunday.
We're kind of up against it, Jeff, but I want to go a little long with you because I have to ask you about the dynamic playing out within the league, which we've known now for over a year, with 5 teams heading for the Pac-12 and obviously the Mountain West maintaining what it is and adding to it as well. How does this play out specifically in Albuquerque with its proud basketball tradition, with its winning legacy, with its tournament teams, with some of the rivalries, including San Diego State? I would imagine of all places, you could argue pros and cons both ways, all sides of it, but this will have an impact on New Mexico basketball. What it means remains to be seen, but what impact do you see it having on New Mexico, and what does it mean for the fan base of the Lobos?
It's going to hurt New Mexico basketball. It is. They're not going to be in as good a league next year. They just aren't. And the fans are going to be bitter about something anyway. But this gives them something to really be bitter about because they had a bad decade, but they also feel they're pretty confident in where they stand in the all-time history of the Mountain West. And if it was a basketball-only decision, they would be in the Pac-12, and they know that. So there is some bitterness to it. They want to beat San Diego State and they want to beat Utah State and they want to beat all the teams leaving. They wanted to do all that stuff anyway. But yeah, there's a little extra to Lobo fans this year to get these games.
Jeff, appreciate it. Safe travels. We will see you Saturday late afternoon, Viejas Arena. Another Aztecs Lobos game in the Mountain West, the final time in the Mountain West in San Diego, and we will see you this weekend. All right, safe travels.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this one, man. Should be fun. Thanks.
It should be a lot of fun. Jeff Grammer does a great job covering this league for the Albuquerque Journal. We'll give away 2 tickets on the other side for Saturday. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, we're going to give away Aztec tickets for Saturday in 7 minutes. So do not go anywhere. Tell you how to win those tickets. This is a great giveaway. Make sure to get there Saturday. I think this will be the best environment of the season to date at Viejas Arena. And at last check, there were limited tickets available at goaztecs.com Saturday at 5. There's no excuse not to be there. Make it as good of a home court environment as there is in the country. And that's what Viejas has done before and will do again. And I think that'll be the type of atmosphere we see on Saturday for San Diego State and New Mexico. Now, Brian Dutcher will join us coming up at 6 p.m., the first Brian Dutcher show of the season. He'll join us every Thursday at 6 p.m. by and large from now through the end of the regular season. Caleb Davis, San Diego State football GM on the portal success of the Aztecs. He will join us coming up at 4 p.m. And then Mikey Varas, SDFC's head coach, will join us at 4:30. So a loaded hour coming up for you here on San Diego Sports 760. I want to mention on San Diego State that they're all of a sudden in position to be in position. They just won at Wyoming last night by 17 points as a 1-point favorite. And boy, did they get the benefit of the metrics. They moved up 14 spots today in some of the rankings. So they're putting themselves on better footing with work to do. Remember, people had written off San Diego State in November. I mean, me and Brent can laugh about it because we have the receipts. I mean, we see the text. We see the social media. I mean, people, and listen, I understand fandom. We get it, right? I mean, we get it. We do this each and every day for a living. And when they lost to Troy in real time at home, it hurt. It felt like it could be something that could potentially keep them out of the NCAA tournament. But it was impossible to say right then. I mean, there was so much season still in front of them. And I think they're proving that right now. And did they not, did they fail to take advantage against teams like Arizona and Michigan? Well, yeah, but Arizona and Michigan are like literally two of the best 3 teams or 4 teams in the country. So they did not take advantage of those opportunities. Yes, they lost at home to Troy. So I would say this year it's a different path to the tournament than last. Everyone last year was right when like, hey, they beat Houston. Maybe that'll be enough to get them in. And I think at the end of the day, it played a role. They avoided bad losses. They had an amazing win. One of the best wins in the country was San Diego State over Houston on a neutral floor. I think Houston lost twice after that in November, once in the league and once in the national championship game. So they had that to hang their hat on last year. They don't yet have that this year. They're not beating a team like Houston this year. You can beat Utah State. That's not Houston. It's not going to be perceived the same way. But they still have opportunities. They've got New Mexico this weekend. I think it would be a massive win. It would get San Diego State to 7-0 in the league. New Mexico's 5-1 right now in the Mountain West and 15-3 overall. And they do have better metrics as we sit here right now than San Diego State. And that could change if the Aztecs win on Saturday. I think more important than the metrics, though, because college basketball is all about metrics and Selection Sunday and at large and, winning in the tournament. More important than any of that is, guess what? San Diego State's playing good basketball. So I don't care if their offensive efficiency numbers are here or their defensive efficiency numbers are there right at this exact moment. What I care about is what my eyes are seeing. And I'm watching a team that is becoming more cohesive. Miles Bird, Reese Dixon Waters are playing better basketball. Magoon Gwath is healthier, and you can see it when you watch him play. The freshmen are improving. I mean, Tay Simmons has been terrific for them off the bench. He had 10 points yesterday. LZ Harrington's been starting for them since Las Vegas and has had, a number of big moments for this team over the course of the year. And then you have BJ Davis, who's like one of the best stores in the country coming off a bench. And San Diego State is one of the deepest teams in the country right now as well. So I'm not here to tell you that it's all been perfect and San Diego State's in line for a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. I would be lying to you if I said that. But to say that everything is ruined and they have to win the Mountain West tournament to get to the NCAA tournament, and I still see that. I still see that in like Facebook groups and in certain social media chats. And I just respectfully disagree. Now things could change. They could lose to, Air Force on the road. Well, that's going to change the formula. Or they could lose to, I'm just making it up right now, Wyoming at home. And that can change the formula. You got to take advantage of the things that you need to take advantage of. That's the hard part about college basketball. Like you have to avoid hiccups. And then against New Mexico and Utah State, I think we had Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org this week with us, maybe on Monday. And he was like, listen, if you can, go 2-2, those 4 games against New Mexico and Utah State, maybe that's 2 wins against NCAA tournament teams. 1 against Utah State, 1 against New Mexico. Again, you got to do it. But all of a sudden, your resume looks better. and your metrics look better. But I just think the team is playing it better. And that's the most encouraging part about it right now, I think, for Aztec fans. And if you've been watching, you're seeing it. And I think you're going to see a very confident group on Saturday against New Mexico. Now, I think New Mexico is going to want to do everything in its power to ruin Saturday for San Diego State. You got all these San Diegans on New Mexico. You have Eric Olin. You've got a team that's also trying to get to the NCAA tournament as an at-large team. Man, there have been some good ones.
I was just happy that they stayed on him last night.
Yeah.
This team, and some Aztec teams in the past they'll have a tendency of they'll get up big and then they'll kind of let the other team creep back into it a little bit. And, they got up 20 last night, and I think the most was like 21 or 22, something like that.
Wyoming lost 7.
But they kind of chipped away and you're like, oh, here we go. And then they had an answer for everything and they kept it around the 20 mark. So I was happy to see that, to where it seems like they're getting more consistency in putting teams away, opposed to earlier in the year when, they'd jump up to a 15-point lead and be like, oh, all right, this is going to be one that, they're going to cruise. And then they're just, not make field goal for 7 minutes and let the other team jump in it.
To your point, last night, San Diego State, early in the second half, was in a little bit of a tenuous situation. They had like a 15 or 17-point lead down to 10. And then remember, LZ Harrington thought a timeout was taken and just threw the ball out of bounds. But that was a live ball moment. Wyoming had the ball down 10 with about 15 minutes to play. San Diego State got a stop. And from that point on, it was all Aztecs as they won by 17. So, yeah, I agree with what you said there. All right, Brian Dutcher at 6 p.m. Right now, caller 8. You have 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs Saturday at 5 against New Mexico. 877-767-4760. Call right now. Huge game. San Diego State, New Mexico. All kinds of implications. 5 p.m. Saturday night. 877-767-4760. Caller 8. You have 2 free tickets to that game. If you don't grab tickets right now, grab them if they're available at GoAztecs.com. Coming up next, Caleb Davis, San Diego State football general manager. With all the transfer portal comings and goings, we'll catch up with Caleb Davis. On the other side, Mikey Varis, SDFC's head coach, will join us at 4:30. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not final, and the contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. But barring any setbacks, it looks like it's going to be a done deal. In other NFL news, 49ers linebacker Fred Warner is progressing, but the team said that he has been ruled out for Saturday's divisional round game against the Seahawks. And speaking of the Seahawks, quarterback Sam Darnold left practice today with an oblique injury. They expect him to play, but he has been listed as questionable for Saturday's game against the Niners. Tonight at 6, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 7:15, we've got Lakers basketball when the team takes on the Hornets. Tip is at 7:30. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, hour 3 here on San Diego Sports 760. You're not going to find a busier man the last couple of weeks than Caleb Davis, San Diego State football general manager. And that's because, well, there's the transfer portal comings and goings in college football that's been playing out for the better part of the last month. The San Diego State has its focus now on the 2026 season. So Caleb Davis, kind enough to take some time for us. He's probably been on the phone for the better part of the last month. Back at the phone with us here on 760. Caleb, appreciate it, man. Hope you're doing well.
What's going on? Appreciate you guys for having me on.
All right, so let's just take us through what this experience is like in modern college football when the portal opens up, what it means from a retention perspective, and then also trying to obviously add pieces from the outside. How would you describe the process that has been playing out the last couple of weeks?
First off, it's a mad rush. So you got to have all hands on deck, everyone in the program, of just being able to attack it within the right process. Like this whole process, even though, again, it's a mad rush, you get really 15 days to completely rebuild or retain your roster. It starts 3 months ago. So we started evaluating potential portal kids way back midway through the season. We started having conversations with our guys during the bye weeks, and had a pretty good hold on things as we started to get into December before the bowl game, and had a grip of where we would be at. And then the moment the portal opens, it's just, it's a mad rush to fill the roster. So you got to have a good plan, because if you don't, you end up getting your guys poached. You end up losing out on your top guys. So we were able to execute a really, really hectic plan, but was able to add a whole bunch of guys into the roster for next year.
All right, so I want to get into some of these specifics. And Caleb Davis, San Diego State's general manager, is with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Let's start with some of the retention pieces. I mean, I thought this was critically important for San Diego State's success in 2025, holding on to some of the core players from a team that went just 3-9, but we saw the results obviously on field. This year, there's so many, but just to name a few: the Lucky Suttons, the Dale-Sean Staleys, obviously Jaden Danicle, the quarterback, announcing he's back, Joe Bourgeon, Jordan Napier comes to mind. There are others I'm not mentioning, obviously. How do you feel about what you were able to retain from 2025 heading into 2026?
I mean, I think we were able to do it at a really, really high level, because that's the separator at this level is, can you retain your best players? And, there are some where Trey White, you look in the eye and it's like, dude, I love you. You got great opportunities. Like there's no harm there. But just off my count, we were able to retain, I think, about 15 starting caliber players that played over 250 reps for us this season. So to be able to do that at our level and add on top of that, I think it sets a great floor, but also gives you the ceiling for the future, especially when you account for a guy like Dale-Sean Staley that did see what's out there and then decided, no, I want to stay, be a hometown hero and represent this great program. I think it just sets us so far ahead from the baseline of the rest of our competition. It lets us have a sense of continuity going into the next season.
Caleb Davis with us right now. Again, he's been one of the busiest people in San Diego the last couple of weeks, building this San Diego State roster for 2026 and beyond. You mentioned Trey White in the portal off, back-to-back magnificent years on the Mesa. Owen Chambliss, obviously, departing as well. How do you replace players of that caliber? I mean, on one hand, well, obviously Trey White and Owen Chambliss made a name for themselves here on the Mesa. You're obviously looking for the next versions of those players moving forward, right?
Absolutely. And you're trying to do it in the aggregate too, because we're not going to replace Trey White by adding one kid. We're not going to replace Owen Chambliss by adding one kid. But if we can do it, we were able to get 3 different edges into the program to replace both Trey, Ryan Henderson, and Niles King, who's graduating. And I think it starts from a talent perspective, but you got to hit on character too. Like our biggest hit of losing them isn't necessarily the talent, it's the leadership aspect. So we were very, very particular about recruiting team captains and guys that were on state championship teams in high school and guys that were on great college programs. So we were able to hit on not just the athletic talent, because we can all see that flipping on the tape, but can you hit on the character? And that's the toughest thing in the portal, is how do you identify the right fits from that aspect? And I think that was the one thing I was probably most proud of than anything.
I want to talk about some of these newcomers, and we can speak in generalities or specifics, but one of the players that I think has been intriguing, and you've heard a lot of discussion about from Aztec fans, is a quarterback that's coming into the program. It's Stone Saunders. Played at Bishop McDevitt, Eastern Pennsylvania. I know Matt Johnson played there for Sean Lewis previously. This guy, you just look at the numbers in high school, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was possible to compile those type of numbers. Was at Kentucky. How does this process play out, where you've got this P4 quarterback that's one of the most prolific passers in the history of the state of Pennsylvania? How does he end up at San Diego State?
Absolutely. That's one where you lean on relationships and the people you know. So exactly like I hit on, team captains and the known commodities. Coach Matty J, Coach Johnson, he played at McDevitt. I believe they had the same high school football coach. And I'm pretty sure he's known Stone since about middle school. So that was one where, again, you lean on known commodities. There were a lot of different, quarterbacks that wanted to come in and compete for spots in that room. And he was one where you lean on the known factors and you're able to get a kid like that we know is a leader, we know is a prolific passer. Like, he's going to have a chance to do some special things in this program.
I just look at, in terms of, the volume of additions. Caleb Davis is with us right now. And there's a couple of areas, obviously, you knew you needed to replace a lot in the secondary. And you also knew you needed to replace a lot, or potentially bring in more receivers as well, with a couple of your receivers returning but coming off injury. Just, I guess, in general, what do you think of what you're able to do? Let's start with the receiver rooms. It seems like, and I don't have it all in front of me, but you've had 4, 5, 6 additions, right, via the portal, including an Oregon transfer as well.
Yep. I think I can kind of hit on 3 of our main things we want to do. Number one being, I believe we have the best play calling coach in America, and Coach Lewis, and he just needs the weapons. He just needs, if he's got the chess pieces, I think we've got the ability to put up 35, 40 points a game. So that was one of the things that was top of mind. And I think we were able to get some true difference makers there, with Justice Lowe coming, who started games at Oregon for him, and Aldrich Doe. He's a 6'3", long, fast receiver out of Bryant, and Marshall Sanders, who was a JUCO all-conference kid that is another super talented. But even Javian Kennard, a young running back that had, I think, 200 yards receiving out of the backfield at Colorado State. We just got some talent there that can be used in so many different ways. And when you add in what we already have retained that's coming back from the receiver room and from the offense room, I just think it gives Coach Lewis a chance to create that explosive offense with explosive playmakers, and really amplify what we've wanted to do the last couple of years.
Yeah, it seems like one of the best receiving rooms, certainly in this new Pac-12, probably outside of the P4 heading into 2026. I mentioned the secondary as well. I would think it's not a tough sell. I mean, you look at all the players that have come through San Diego State to play professional football that have played in a secondary, including look at a Chris Johnson, obviously, who's on his way for the NFL come this spring. What were you and Coach Sumler and his staff hoping to address? What type of player were you looking for to fill out some of those needs?
I think the number one thing we hang our hats on is production. There's a lot of super talented kids that don't produce. And then even when they transfer to lower levels or different places, they still don't produce because, again, there's a production issue. So I believe we went out and got the two best FCS corners in the country, in Jason Oliver and Caleb Ricks, who both have length, both have production. They were the highest rated, PBUs, forced incompletion rate in the country. And they have genetics where Jason was at Colorado out of high school, played as a true freshman. And Caleb, his older brother was a 5-star corner at LSU and Alabama before he got drafted in the NFL. Like, we've got some true production combined with the ceiling and the traits to where I believe both at their best could be NFL cornerbacks one day.
Tell us about how you were able to do this. I know the community played a large role, right? The Finish the Climb campaign
Absolutely.
that it contributed at least $2 million or more in the rev share total. That obviously is critically important for the Aztecs moving forward. Tell us about the support of the community and what it meant to building this team.
Absolutely. None of this, not a single piece would have been possible without everything that the city of San Diego was able to do for us. And that goes from the alumni base to the donor base to even every single season ticket holder and fan that even purchased tickets to one of our home games this year. So we are forever grateful. I think we had a good plan, but we were only able to execute it because of the support we had with our city and with our community. So we're fired up to keep on enhancing this thing and hopefully spread some cheer, get these season ticket sales going, because I really do believe next season is going to be one of the most special seasons in San Diego State football history. And I'm excited to celebrate it with our city, the greatest city in America.
And we received some amazing scheduling news yesterday. San Diego State James Madison is an incredible non-conference game at Snapdragon Stadium this September. The Dukes, of course, were in the college football playoff this past year, and San Diego State, obviously one of the top teams in the group of 6 heading in to 2026. Let me ask you this before you go, because I don't even know where is the portal closed and are you done? You can't be done. There's no way you're done. Is this thing done or is there still work to be done?
So the portal closes tomorrow at midnight. So we feel good. We built, again, it all goes back to building good, honest relationships with the guys on your team. So feel great about everyone we have in the building. We have one more official visitor that's actually on campus right now that fingers crossed we'll be getting good news here over the next 24 hours. And then that should wrap it up just about for the 2026 San Diego State Aztecs football team.
Man, tough day to visit. 75 and sunny. Man, it's a tough man. I've been it's so funny during the portal, Caleb. I don't know if you do the same with your position. I'm looking at the weather. The weather's been amazing while this portal season's been open. I'm like, that's got to be benefiting Sean Lewis and Caleb and the efforts. It doesn't get better than San Diego in January.
I think it benefits my livelihood more than anything. Being a Midwest guy out here, this is my first California winter, and I'm never going to complain about 75 and sunny in January.
Let me ask you this: when this thing is officially closed, will you take a day or more? Do you get will you get take any time off come 24 or 48 hours from now or not?
Do you want the real answer or the joke answer?
Real answer.
Because the joking answer was that I'm going to take a beach towel, put it out on somewhere on Pacific Beach, and just not move for a week. But realistically, I'll probably be back in the office the next day, building relationships with all the guys and making sure we continue the success for years to come.
I know 2026, that climb is about to begin on the Mesa. Caleb, great work. We're excited. Obviously, the Aztecs had so much success last year with the 9 wins, and now all these new pieces and all these returning pieces. And I know the work is kind of just beginning for 2026, but I think Sean Lewis said it before, is like, our success next season is going to be based on this critical 6-week period of time. Like, how good we are is based on what we keep, what we add, and where that points us for 2026. So congrats on the successes to this point, and we'll catch up with you again later in the year, all right?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you for having me on.
All right, great stuff from Caleb Davis. He's done a hell of a job. San Diego State's football general manager. Again, one of the busiest people in this city over the last couple of weeks. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. Mikey Varas, SDFC's head coach, will join us coming up at 4:30. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, Mikey Varis, SDFC head coach, got the recent extension. He will join us. What a job he did year one. He'll join us at 4:30. By the way, SDFC putting single game tickets on sale today, announcing some promotional scheduling news today. What a success year one was. You'll hear year two. All the matches right here on San Diego Sports 760. They are not far away from the start of the year. The home opener is February 21st, like February 21st. 5 weeks from now or whatever that is. So that's going to be here before we know it. So Mikey Varis off the success of year one will join us again coming up in about 10 or so minutes. SDFC, they'll be playing some exhibitions and it'll be here before we know. It'll be here before we know it against Montreal February 21st to kick off 2026. Okay, what we also have, Brent, where is there it is, the restaurant week. We have restaurant week gift cards to give away. We've got one $50 gift card to 333 Pacific for San Diego Restaurant Week. San Diego Restaurant Week invites you to dine out at over 100 restaurants from Oceanside to Chula Vista, January 25th through February 1st. Book your reservations at SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. So we're going to do that later this hour. We'll give away that $50 gift card to 333 Pacific later
and
this
you
hour.
get to go to a free movie. So you get dinner and a movie.
And you have a pair of tickets to the special screening of Mercy, right? Only in theaters January 23rd. That's IMAX 3D, Wednesday, January 21st in Mira Mesa, if you want to do that as well. So $50 gift card plus the screening of Mercy. We'll do that later this hour. But right now, Brent, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Are the Aztecs back?
I don't think they were ever like gone, is what I would say. And it's a moving target when you talk about college basketball, because just when you're back, you could slip up, or just when you think that hope is lost, you could rattle off 3 straight wins. You get the point. So I just don't think they went anywhere. I get the expectations. They were really high heading into the year. They remain high, in my opinion, with Aztec fans. I understand that. And yes, they lost to number 1 and number 2 in Arizona and Michigan. But all of a sudden, they've put together a good year, and they've played really well over the last month. I don't know if they've won now. 9 of 10. Their only loss since November, I think, is to Arizona in Phoenix. So they played well. They're 12-4. They're 6-0 in the league. Again, I don't know if they ever went anywhere. And we'll see if they can continue to play well come Saturday against New Mexico in this huge game at VA House Arena. Next question.
Will John Harbaugh win a Super Bowl with the Giants?
I don't see it. I mean, Giants have a proud history. They've won in relatively recent history, although it's been a while. You're going back 10 plus years now. Listen, it's a proud franchise. It really is. You have resources in New York, and you've got a great coach in John Harbaugh. Just winning a Super Bowl goes even beyond. They might be good. They might get to the postseason 2 out of 3 years, or 3 out of 5 years, or 4 to 5 years. I think that, to me, is a stretch. Remember, he only won 1 Super Bowl in Baltimore. That was 12 or 13 years ago. He wasn't winning Super Bowls with Lamar Jackson. Is he winning Super Bowls with Jackson Dart in the next 3 to 5 years? Again, possible. I find it to be very improbable. Next question.
Is Saturday a must-win game versus New Mexico?
No, I don't think it is. Now, you're only going to get so many opportunities against the, top tier of this league. I think the top tier right now, and this could change, is Utah State. They have amazing metrics. They've had an amazing year, 1 loss. And then you have New Mexico. They've had a really good year, 15-3 under their first-year head coach, the former UCSD head coach, Eric Olin. Wouldn't call it a must-win, but if you don't win, you might have to win at the Pit. Or if you don't win, you might have to win in Logan. So much prefer winning at home against New Mexico as opposed to trying to win in another really challenging environment like the Pit at New Mexico. But no, I don't think mid-January we're in the must-win part of the year yet for San Diego State, but it's an important game, and you would love to win it to bolster your resume. Final question.
Which underdog will win this weekend in the divisional round?
All right, so this is going to get underway in less than 48 hours. And let's see. I'm just going to look at the...
I have them all.
You have the current line? I do too. So I see Denver is now favored by 1.5. I see Seattle's a 7-point home favorite against San Fran. I see New England as a 3-point favorite against the Texans at home. And the Rams are 3.5-point favorites in Chicago. I'm going to take two underdogs to win, and that would be the Bills in Denver and the Bears at home. Those are my two underdogs to win outright. The Bills in Denver, just a 1.5 point underdog, and the Bears at home, a 3.5 point home dog. What do you think?
I think, honestly, it could be any of them other than the Texans.
Yeah, you don't like the Texans in New England.
Well, I don't even know if it's in New England because the Texans won the division, remember? So
no, this is in New England.
Oh, it is in New England.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't feel that. I don't think the Texans can do it. I think any of the other three. I think the Niners, the Bills, and the Bears could all do it.
Are you surprised that the Niners are now 7-point underdogs in Seattle? Pretty big number.
No, because you have to factor in all the injuries, and I wonder how much that line's going to change now that, within like the last 90 minutes or so, they announced that they pulled Sam Darnold to practice because he had an oblique injury, and they said he's going to play, but he's been moved to questionable on the injured list. So
that's crazy.
See if that makes any difference. But yeah, it's a little shocking. But I don't know. You just have to look at all the injuries the Niners got to where eventually it's like they're not going to be favored.
Yeah, no, you can't be. I mean, you're on the road in Seattle against this elite defense, and yeah, I mean, if the Niners win, it's going to be a better win than they just had in Philadelphia. That's for sure. All right, Mikey Varas, STFC's head coach, single game tickets for the upcoming year on sale. Promotion schedule out as well. We'll talk about the extension to Varas for Andres Dreyer, what's going on with Chucky Lozano, and more as STFC gets ready for year 2 at Snapdragon Stadium in Major League Soccer. Mikey Varas, their head coach, joins us next.
This report is sponsored by Covered California for the love of Californians. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not final, though, and contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to Adam Schefter. But barring any setbacks, it looks like it's going to be a done deal. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the first Brian Dutcher's coach show of the season. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And then after the Brian Dutcher coaches show at 7:15, we've got Lakers basketball when LeBron and the gang take on the Hornets. Tip is set for 7:30. Covered California can help you find health coverage that's good for your mind, your body, and your budget. Open enrollment is on through January 31st. Covered California, for the love of Californians. Visit coveredca.com.
All right, let's talk some SDFC on San Diego Sports 760. The season's coming quick. And of course, 2025 just wrapping up. The very short off season. Single match tickets on sale now. We're going to get into that and more. We have the head coach of SDFC with us right now, Mikey Varas. First of all, Mikey, congratulations on the extension. I know it was just an unbelievable run in year one. What is it about being here long term that makes it so appealing to you moving forward? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me, and I'm so happy to be extended. At the end of the day, San Diego is home. I've always been drawn to the city, and this project is a perfect fit for the city, the community, but also for me on a personal level.
All right. So again, 2026 is coming. Single match tickets are on sale now. Before we look ahead to 2026, so many memories from year one. What will you take away? Is there any most memorable moment from year one of SDFC for you?
Yeah, I think the club was born when the energy in the stadium was not just the field, the players on the field or Frontera, but that the whole stadium got involved in all the chants. And then I think a moment is probably our lowest moment when we lost, but the way Frontera, SD, and also the rest of the stadium, lifted us up at the end and kept cheering for us, even though we were gutted. Like, for me, that still gives me goosebumps, and it shows not only a fighting spirit from the team, but also from the community.
Mikey Varas with us right now, SDFC's head coach. Again, SDFC will get the regular season underway in February, and single match tickets are available right now online as well. Anders Dreyer has been extended as well. Such a massive piece for SDFC in year one. What will that mean for the club in 2026 and beyond to have him back?
Yeah, it's massively important because he's a player who really demonstrates not only with his words but with his actions the mentality that we have in terms of having character and talent, and that ability to be an exciting attacker and want to do the dirty work for the team to make sure you win.
He's got a bobblehead this year, right? Coming up. Have you seen
I
that?
hope so.
I think so.
Give the man
I'm
a
looking
bobblehead.
online. I'm pretty sure he's got a bobblehead. Yeah, he deserves a bobblehead. I mean, right? It's kind of the least you could do for him.
Yeah, give the man a bobblehead.
You can see the promotional schedule, by the way, online, SanDiegoFC.com. Again, single match tickets are available. I know this has been widely discussed over the last, 48 or 72 hours regarding Chucky Lozano's exit. What's next? Like, what happens between the club and his representatives in terms of where the two sides go from here, I guess?
Yeah, it's just been very clearly made to him that he won't be a part of our sporting plans going forward. We're not going to go back on that, so he will not play for San Diego FC again. And now it's about trying to help him get to a club and environment that fits him better, so that he can play in the World Cup. I know that that World Cup on home soil in Mexico is very important for their country, and he's an important player, and they would love to have him there. But now it's about just finding the right cooperation from Irving and his representatives so that we can make that happen.
What's the impact of the schedule in 2026? I'm thinking about CONCACAF Champions Cup. Then there's the break for the World Cup. What impact does that have on your job, your club, how you navigate the upcoming year?
Yeah, we need to make sure we have a bigger squad so more guys who can participate. You can't run 14 guys into the ground because you got to keep, obviously, results in the short term, but also keep an eye on the long term. And then the World Cup break will provide an opportunity for a second preseason for the guys who aren't at the World Cup, which will be great for us because we do well when we get training. And but then there will be a challenge of switching that chip after the World Cup and getting restarted. And that'll be a new experience for the entire league. And I think the teams who turn that around the quickest will have a huge advantage going into that second half of the season.
Mikey Varas, SDFC's head coach, with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Of course, you can hear every match in 2026 right here on 760. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on the impact of the 2026 World Cup on Major League Soccer in general. What do you think 2026 is going to feel like for soccer fans in the States?
Yeah, it's going to lift the league another level or two. You know, the '94 World Cup got the league up and running.
Yeah.
And then the league has done a great job of building off of that momentum and growing year on year. But this is an opportunity to exponentially grow in one single moment. And I think the league is well positioned to do that and to become even more competitive in the world of football.
What role we've talked a lot about Right to Dream, the academy, and the role that's played for clubs, including SDFC. What impact is it having right now, and how do you expect it to? Is it paying dividends in 2026, or is that more a 2027, 28, 29 beyond? Take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, players from our own academy, it's going to take a little bit because they're so young, but we already have Marcus, we have the EMAs, we're going to bring a player from the IA who's going to be exciting. So it is paying dividends in the short run, but the real benefit is going to be in the long term. And at some point, it's going to be really amazing to see all these players coming to us from San Diego, but also from Egypt, which is also one of our younger academies.
When you have all the success in year one, the expectations become to replicate it or surpass it in year two, which is, again, easier said than done. As you look at it right now, still a few weeks out, what is it going to take to maintain success moving forward?
Yeah, it's not losing sight of what gave you the chance of having that success.
Right.
And it certainly wasn't filling your backpack with a bunch of bricks of expectations. It was showing up every day from the moment you got out of the car to the moment you get back in your car, and make sure you leave everything you can for your teammates, for yourself, for your family, and for your community. Because when you do that over and over again, it's like drops in the bucket, right? And ultimately, those are the razor-thin margins that are gained over time that give you a chance of having something special happen during the season. And that's all you can do, is make sure you set conditions and prepare in a way that you give yourself a chance of doing something special. And I know that these guys will. Yeah,
I like that. That's well said. Before you go, what do you make of, I know it's not in 2026, but 2027 beyond, the new calendar format aligning more with global soccer, European soccer? What impact does that have on the league in your expectation?
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to bring us a little bit more level with everybody else. It's also going to make the transfer market more interesting going in and out because you won't have to lose players mid-season or make that decision of losing a player mid-season. Instead, the biggest transfer window is in the summer, so that'll align with the end of the season. But also you'll be able to bring in, kind of your bigger players also during that window and not in the middle of a season. So I think it's going to be really good for the growth of the league and aligning, but also it's going to tremendously increase the value of the talent that we have coming in and out.
Do you get any time off, by the way? Like, how are you you're playing again in what? I mean, you're playing like right now, right? I mean, you're just a couple of weeks away from playing again, right?
Yeah, I got a little bit of time off, but mostly it was just working from home. But for me, that's already helping you get refreshed, And ultimately, listen, I have the best job in the world in my eyes. I get to work in a sport for such a fantastic city. So I wake up gladly every day to quote unquote go to work.
I love it. I love it. Before you go, tell us about Champions Cup and what type of opportunity that provides. That's coming up in just a couple of weeks to Snapdragon.
Yeah, massive challenge against Liga MX's team, so it'll be good to see if we can take some lessons learned from Leagues Cup, and we're going to go for those games. We always try to win. At the same time, though, we won't lose sight of the long term of the season and making sure we set ourselves up to have a good season, which is a 10-month marathon, as you guys know now.
10-month marathon. Incredible. SanDiegoFC.com for single match tickets. Those are available right now, including February 3rd, that CONCACAF Champions Cup we just referenced, and then the MLS opener for San Diego against Montreal, February 21st, Snapdragon Stadium. Tickets available right now at SanDiegoFC.com. Mikey Vars, congratulations on year one, the extension, and look forward to doing it again soon, all right?
I appreciate you all. Thank you for having me.
All right, great stuff. Mikey Vars, I mean, he did an incredible job. You don't do better than he did with an expansion franchise. They were in the Western Conference Final at home just weeks ago, and now they're just days away from gearing up for another season here, year two of Major League Soccer in San Diego. And I do think 2026 is just a crazy year with the World Cup in America. And as a 45-year-old and someone that wasn't a diehard soccer fan growing up, I do remember the impact of the 1994 World Cup. It was like this moment where soccer all of a sudden burst onto the scene in the country. I was a teenager. And now 30 years later, it feels like there has been a lot of progress. I mean, the sport has a different feel in this country than it had 30 years ago. And to his point, that next level or two that is taken, I think, as a result of what's going to happen this summer. I mean, this summer is going to be insane with matches throughout the States and Mexico and Canada. And I mean, you already see what this sport means in a city like San Diego. I mean, SDFC could not be more popular than they were in year one. So we've got Major League Soccer, we have the World Cup, and we have SDFC right here on San Diego Sports 760. What we have for our listeners is a $50 gift card to 333 Pacific for San Diego Restaurant Week. We'll give that away on the other side of a break. Also, Brian Dutcher will join us live for the first Brian Dutcher show of the season. He'll join us coming up at 6 p.m. He'll join us for about 20 or 30 minutes. If you have a question for Dutch tonight, you can get it in on the text line. I'll try to get to it. 70470. You can start your message with the word team. Again, 70470. You can start it with the word team. The Aztecs have New Mexico coming up Saturday at 5, a game you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. So we'll give away, again, the $50 gift card for Restaurant Week on the other side. If you missed our conversation earlier with Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal, you'll hear that as well in the 5 o'clock hour, reacting to all the Padres news of the last 24 or 48 hours as well. Here until the Brian Dutcher show at 6 p.m. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Man, I feel like a lot's going on. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Yesterday, I thought would have been a good day. Jonathan was on from 2 to 4. And I would assume you just, I didn't listen for 1 second. Because,
Jim.
But I'm assuming you talked a little bit about Arenado, Will Myers, Buddy Black. We'll talk more about this in the 5 o'clock hour. I just found it. Here was my first thought when I saw that Arenado went to the Diamondbacks, but the Padres were in it until the last moment. I'm kind of cool with how it worked out. And it's not to disparage Arenado. It's really not. But sometimes you got to know like when to fold him. Like he's 34, he hasn't been healthy, and he hasn't been productive. You add that up to me, and I'm not saying he's not capable of putting together a productive year. He absolutely is. And at a low cost, maybe it makes sense. I could see how it would make sense for a club, including Arizona or even San Diego. But I don't think it's some big swing and miss. You could argue maybe it made sense. You put him at first, has a slight resurgence, good clubhouse guy. Guy's won everywhere and is produced. But I don't know. First blush, I'm not like, I don't think they missed out on some home run.
The first thing I thought of was Moneyball.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you see Moneyball?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, I was hoping
Brad Pitt. Who's the other actor that plays
Jonah Hill? Okay,
yeah.
I was hoping since there's a sports movie, it might be one of the 5 movies you've seen.
I've seen it.
Okay, but the first thing I thought of was Moneyball in that scene when Brad Pitt's talking to David Justice about how no, the Yankees are paying us. The Yankees are paying us not to have you on their team.
Yeah, and
that's what I thought of because the Cardinals are paying like 32 75%. Of like the remaining 41 million on his contract. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, that's a lot of money for them to be like, yeah, we want you off this team so bad that we're going to pay, over 90% of your remaining contract just to get you out of here.
It's a good point, and to further your point, the Padres wanted the Cardinals to pay it down more. So it sounds like the sticking point was San Diego was in, but they were in with like a 90% off coupon. Like they didn't want to pay. I think ultimately the Diamondbacks are paying 11 of the remaining dollars. It's 41. They're paying 11, which is $5.5 a year. And I'm like, that's really not a lot. But the Padres wanted to pay less than that. Let's say they wanted to pay 6, which is 2 or 3 a year. And that might have been at the end of the day the sticking point. Does that reflect the Padres' lack of payroll, or does it reflect the fact that the Padres don't want to take on that risk? And it might be a combination of both. I kind of respect the due diligence, go down the path. And at the end of the day, do you really want to commit to Arenado for multiple years, which is what you would be doing? And do you want to pay him 5 or 6 a year when you have other holes? Or maybe you have other ways to fill the holes that you currently have aside of Nolan Arenado. Annie had it earlier. Annie Halpern was in for 90 minutes today. He had a 660 something OPS. It's not a productive hitter last year. Now, he can be better than that, but is it a risk worth taking? Probably not.
I don't know. I've had enough of playing, players out of their position all the time to where it's just like, can we just bring in a guy who actually plays first base instead of bringing in third baseman and shortstops and second baseman and pretty much everybody except for a first baseman and then just throwing them in there?
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. It's like sometimes you don't have to get too cute. Like just find a first baseman, not a third baseman. Now, part of me, like think about the Padres have always been about star power under Preller or modern Preller. It's been about, but imagine Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Arenado. I mean, it's just stars. I mean, I'm not saying that's the reason to do it. I'm really not. It's just kind of fascinating. Plus, Arenado and Machado have been compared so often throughout their career. I mean, Machado's 33, Arenado's 34. Arenado's had all these Gold Gloves. Machado's obviously had all these, big years at the plate. It would be interesting. I'll tell you that.
Well, with their ages, it kind of reminds me of that Lakers team. Remember when they had Gary Payton and Karl Malone for that 1 year?
I do.
And because they're all ring chasing and it just didn't work out.
Yep.
That's kind of what it would feel like. Cause it'd just be like, oh, this is weird. We got Machado and Arenado on the same team. Is like, didn't think I'd ever see that, but okay. I don't really see it working because it's like I said,
Yeah, didn't they
what are
do
you gonna
this
do with them?
before? I mean, the thing is, in baseball, star power doesn't equate necessarily. Now, I say that, Brent, and I agree. I said it and you were agreeing. Then I look at the Dodgers. I mean, there's a lot of star power. There's also a lot of good players, and they have depth, but there's a lot of star power. But it's not a prerequisite. You don't have to have 6 stars to win a World Series. That's not the prerequisite in baseball. And I think sometimes the Padres have been a little like star power crazed, where it's like maybe some of your best teams. I don't know. I mean, in 2022, they made an NLCS and they had Juan Soto. But then in 2023, they fell on their face. And then they rebounded under Mike Schild. It's been an interesting period of time. Listen, missing out on Nolan Arenado does not change my expectations for the Padres next year. Padres are contending for a playoff spot again. Make no mistake. They're not going to be expected to be some 79-win team with an outside chance of making the playoffs. No, they're going to be expected to get to the postseason. I don't think they're expected to win the division, nor should they be. But, my guess is we're going to look at some of these Vegas win totals in a couple of weeks. It's going to say 88. It's going to say 87 and a half. It's going to say 89. Like, they've won 90 plus games last 2 years. Yeah, there's a lot of change. I mean, Dylan Cease isn't here. Michael King's coming off injury. Joe Musgrove's coming off injury. You still need to fill first base and the back of your rotation. But other teams have needs. Other teams haven't finished off their roster. When we had Annie here earlier, I agree with her. She doesn't think the Padres are done. They're not. Look at based on the actions of nearly, securing Nolan Arenado. So they'll make the required moves. They'll put themselves in a position to win the 88 to 90 games. And then it all boils down to this. Can you win at a higher rate in October? Because the last 2 haven't been good enough. They should have beaten the Dodgers in 2024. It's not crying over spilled milk. It's just factual. That's on the Padres. I mean, credit the Dodgers. The Padres wasted a golden opportunity. And then in 2025, they wasted another good opportunity. They did. The Cubs were not some invincible team. The Cubs are very similar to the Padres. And the Padres could have easily won that 3-game series, and they didn't. So it's now on them to produce in October. And that's expectations. And they are lofty expectations. You've got a first-year manager, and you've got this star-laden team, and you got this quote-unquote rock star GM. They have high expectations. They should. The expectation for me is to not just make the postseason, but to do something there. Because 2022, championship series, 2024, divisional series, 2025, wild card. We don't want to see the next step. You don't want to see them on the outside. You want to see them getting in and winning series, hopefully, in 2026. We can get to more of it on the other side as, again, the Padres miss out on Nolan Arenado. I'm not convinced, though, it is the worst thing in the world. Plus, if you missed Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal as San Diego State gets ready for New Mexico on Saturday at 5, we'll hear that conversation coming up at 5:30 tonight. We'll get to Brent's back page. And then Brian Dutcher, for the first Brian Dutcher show of the season, he'll join us each and every Thursday at 6 p.m. for about 20 or 30 minutes. I'll be with you for an hour. But Brian Dutcher at 6 from about 6 to, let's say, 6:30 or 6:25 tonight. If you've got a question for Dutch, you can get it in right now. 70470. Start your message with the word team. Again, 70470. Start it with the word team. In general, text line is open, or you can call us 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760 or 70470. Start it with the word team. Final hour before the Brian Dutcher Show is next, right here on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not final, and the contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. But barring any setback, it looks like it's going to be a done deal. In other NFL news, the 49ers say that despite progressing, All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner will be out this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks during their divisional round matchup. And speaking of the Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold left practice early today with an oblique injury. He has been moved to questionable, but is still expected to play. Tonight at 6:00, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And then following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we got Lakers basketball at 7:15 when the team takes on the Hornets. Tip is set for 7:30. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with. Shiny like the designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, final hour. John Schaefer, Brent Sperry, Brian Dutcher coming up at 6 p.m. The Brian Dutcher Show. Aztecs 6-0 in the Mountain West. Date with New Mexico at Viejas coming up on Saturday at 5. Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, with more on that game coming up right around 5:30. We'll have Brent's back page as well. So I'm trying to think, because I didn't do a show Tuesday, traveling to Laramie, and then I didn't do a show Wednesday because the game was at 5:00 Pacific, which means our pregame started at 4, and I wasn't going to be on the air from 2 to 4 because of the game.
Soft.
So very soft. But so like I'm doing like a catch-up show on the Padres because there was this report. We've referenced this reporter before. Let me find it again. Is it Francis Romero? No. Hector Gomez. We've referenced Hector Gomez before, right? He covers baseball. I think covers a lot of like Dominican-born players and like Caribbean baseball, right? Well, he said, and this is not going back 2 days, that the Padres have emerged as a strong contender for a trade with the Brewers to acquire star right-hander Freddie Peralta. It's Hector Gomez. Now, earlier he had said, source, Red Sox, Mets, Padres, and Yankees continue to show strong interest in a trade with the Brewers to acquire Freddie Peralta. So on its face, you're like, where do I sign up? And here's why. Freddie Peralta is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's coming off a year in which he was 17-6 with a 2.70 ERA, 33 starts, 176 and 2/3 innings, 204 strikeouts, and a whip just over 1, walks and hits over innings just over 1. So this guy was like elite last year. Now, there's a catch. The catch is he's a free agent at the end of the year. And the Padres typically have not been inclined to trade for players that are not controllable. Now, that's not a true rental. Like, to me, a true rental is when you acquire someone in August at the deadline and you have them for 2 months. This is a player you have for 6 months plus postseason. If you make it, he's only 29. In terms of what he's making on his current deal, which is just arbitration eligible player, he's making in the neighborhood of $8 million. Nothing, right? I mean, that's amazing. So you'd have to give up a good amount, you would think, because the Brewers would want return. Why would the Brewers be interested in trading a pitcher that went 17-6 with a 2.7 for their awesome team last year? Well, he's a free agent in a year. So the way they've sustained success, and they've been very successful, is by, again, not investing $125 million in a player, but by recycling players, essentially.
By being cheap and screwing them over in arbitration.
Correct. But they have won at the major league level, to their credit. Some way, they have won. So, listen, what I would say is this. Well, I don't think that Freddie Peralta is necessarily coming to San Diego, and there's a couple of reasons to think that. A, what would the system produce for the Brewers that makes it such a can't miss for Milwaukee to trade Peralta to San Diego? But I would say this, that while Preller hasn't previously traded for players that aren't controllable, it doesn't mean you shouldn't consider it now and potentially get even more, quote unquote, creative. We always say creative as in you don't have money. So what are you going to do about it? What you're going to do about it maybe, you say, well, man, you're really going to give up capital in your system to acquire someone that's only under control for a year? Desperate times call for desperate measures sometimes. They've done a little bit of everything over the last 10 or 11 years under Preller, investing internationally, developing from within hot talent lava, spending. They were top 2 in payroll at one point under Peter Seidler, trading for Juan Soto, trading away Juan Soto, trading for players like Blake Snell and Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. They've done it in a variety of ways. Now, they've never truly gone out there and been like, you know what, caution to the wind, screw it, let's go give up all our pieces for a one-year guy. So I'm not suggesting they're now changing their philosophy and saying, let's just do it. And maybe Preller's like, I'm only on a one-year deal. Let me go get a guy on a one-year deal. What do I care at the end of 2026? I don't think they truly see it that way. But when you can acquire a player of the caliber of Freddie Peralta, and I'm hypothesizing right now, you have to at least, again, it's all cliche, run out the ground ball. Like, you have to at least consider it. If he's seriously on the block, a guy that made 33 starts last year and is 29 and a 2.70 ERA, if he's actually on the block, you have to obviously pursue it, even if it's not overly realistic.
What they could do too is, if they pick him up and they don't have to give up that much, and say the season just, by the All-Star break, it's just a disaster and they know they're just done, they can flip him again.
It's a good point. Flippable play, because now all of a sudden you got a commodity.
An All-Star break, starting pitching is always a need. It's kind of like closers. Nobody needs a closer in April, but once July rolls around, this trade deadline, all the contenders are like, give me as many closers as you can get.
Here's the thing. Now, we can't predict injuries. So that's the one thing. You're right. There's a scenario where the Padres aren't competing at the deadline because they've had injuries or bad luck. Now, with the wild cards, you're going to be in it. What are they going to be, 20 games under 500? Let's hope not. But like, I'm forecasting a world where, let's just say you somehow landed Freddie Peralta. All of a sudden, like, if you can assume any level of health, now you have Peralta and Pivetta. You have King, I get it, coming back from injury. You have Musgrove, I get it, coming back from injury. I mean, you got real pieces, is my point. Like, you have a nearly completed rotation. You got a brilliant front of your rotation, potentially. You got this awesome bullpen to work with. You've got at least a credible lineup. The lineup needs to bear more fruit in terms of like slug and power. It does. And I think it probably just will, because they were so bad last year in terms of hitting for power. But I guess my point is, well, you're right. You have the insurance of, well, if it doesn't work out, you can just move them at the deadline. I don't think you would. I think you'd be one of the better teams. I think Freddie Peralta, and again, we can't assume health. That's the problem. But a guy that it's not just last year, by the way. He's had a good career. He's got a 3.5 career ERA. He's 70-42 in his career. So he's consistently produced. He's eaten innings. His last 3 years, 165 innings or more, all 3 years. He's only 29. There's not a ton of tread on his arm. 900 innings, not 2,000 innings. Again, I'm selling you on something I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm not the one that reported Hector Gomez says that the Padres are a serious suitor for Freddie Peralta.
You never know. Nobody would have thought that the Brewers would have traded away, was it Williams? To the Yankees for practically nothing.
Yep.
And they've had other players, Corbin Burns. Nobody thought that they were going to trade him, and then they pissed him off because they screwed him over in arbitration, and then he wanted out. So
he might be traded. I just don't know if this is the most likely landing spot. He probably will be traded. As in, everything we're saying about Milwaukee, like you just said, they're cheap. The longer you wait, if you're Milwaukee, now you're not getting the same thing in July. Now you could get a lot for him potentially, but not the same you get in February.
Well, then the longer the Brewers wait, they have to worry about the risk of, what if he gets injured and then they can't ship him.
And here's the other thing. If you get in season and you're Milwaukee and you're pacing for 90 wins, you're trading Freddie Peralta in season? Of course not. You can't trade Freddie Peralta if you're the best team in the NL Central.
Yeah, unless they got some hot prospect down in the minors that nobody knows about.
Filling the role. So, it's an interesting conversation. I think it's a conversation worth having. And I think that the larger conversation is, it's not specifically about Freddie Peralta. Is it about the Padres' willingness to take a U-turn in their pursuit of postseason success? What I mean by that is what we've talked about for the last 10 minutes, which is, I like controllable players too. I would much rather trade for Mason Miller, who's got 3 or 4 years of control, than Freddie Peralta, for example, in July when he's got 2 months of control. I understand the benefit analysis of getting a player that you can keep for 2 or 3 years. But I also understand the value of top tier, starting pitcher, slugger, and what impact that can have on any one season. And I think 2026, to be dead honest with it, 2026 gives you a better chance to win than 2027 solely because of the aging roster. Like Manny Machado in 2027 is unlikely to have a season better than 2026. In 2027, he's going to turn 35, I think. Like at some point, you're running out of time in terms of the true prime of Manny Machado. To his credit, he's produced consistently to a clip better than someone like Nolan Arenado in his, early to mid 30s. And it's not like the whole operation hinges on Manny Machado's offense. They have other weapons now. Fernando Tatis Jr. can pick up slack. Jackson Merrill can pick up slack. Xander Bogaerts can do the same. They've proven that it's not like the whole operation is solely dependent on Manny Machado, but how many times have we boiled it down to as Manny goes, they go? So like you can't fully discount his value. You don't want to either. He's in the midst of this $300 million deal. Nobody wants him to be this backseat player. You don't want to see Manny all of a sudden become a full-time DH and hit 240 and hit 19 home runs. That's not what you're hoping for. What you're hoping for is a highly productive hitter that can play in the field and can do it for another handful of years. I just don't know how realistic that is. So I'm just saying, like, 2026 presents a better opportunity in my mind than the future. I don't know what the future looks like. I probably would have told you 2024 gave you a better chance to win than 2025 for a similar reason. And that's how I feel about 2026. I still think they're in a window where they can win. There's no question about it. They should not be winning 73 games. That should not be the season they have in 2026. I'm just telling you, at some point, like, you can't fight it. Like, windows close almost for all teams. And at some point, sadly, it'll probably be the case for the San Diego Padres as well. And I hope it's on now. And they've, again, taken the precaution to protect their long-term interests. Jackson Merrill's going to be here. Fernando Tatis Jr. hopefully is going to be here. Michael King, we'll see how long he's going to be here. Look at the Michael King deal. You talk about getting creative. Michael King, 3 years, $75 million. Give me a break. He signed a 1-year deal. They signed Michael King to a 1-year deal. Now, they didn't give up assets in signing him. They just gave him money. So Freddie Peralta, it's the same thing. It's a 1-year deal. The difference is you have to give up assets. And what assets are you willing to get rid of? And to pry a pitcher of his caliber loose, it's real assets. It's not on the edges, on the margins. Oh, a little of this. Oh, can't be. No. like this is a linchpin piece potentially for an organization, including the San Diego Padres. So something to at least keep your eye on. Freddie Peralta's whereabouts this winter. With spring training approaching, I think pitchers and catchers are reporting after Super Bowl Sunday, or maybe right then that weekend. And Super Bowl Sunday is it 3 weeks from Sunday? I think it is. I think that's 24 days from now because we have divisional round, championship round, bye week. So I think 3 weeks from Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, which means 3 weeks from Sunday roughly is when pitchers and catchers report, which means WBC coming, spring training, and of course, eventually regular season games at the end of March. We can continue that conversation on the other side. If you missed Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal, he'll get us ready for San Diego State and New Mexico. You'll hear that just before 5:30 tonight. Good conversation with Jeff Grammer. Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. If you have a question for Dutch, get it in right now. 70470. Start your message with the word team. Again, 70470. Start it with the word team. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, my bad, because I promised you some restaurant week gift cards. So we'll do that in the next 5-6 minutes. We have a $50 gift card to 333 Pacific San Diego Restaurant Week coming up. It kicks off January 25th. You're also going to win a pair of tickets to a special screening of Mercy, which is only in theaters January 23rd. And you can see that IMAX 3D Wednesday, January 21st in Mira Mesa. So $50 gift card and this free screening. I'll tell you when to call for the gift card to 333 Pacific. Who doesn't love free food and restaurant week coming up here in San Diego? So we'll do that in a handful of minutes. If you missed Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal, you'll hear that coming up in 10 minutes. San Diego State, New Mexico, just a massive game, crazy implications in the Mountain West and beyond. Saturday at Viejas Arena at 5 p.m. And Brian Dutcher is going to join us live at 6 p.m., the Brian Dutcher Show. If you have a question or a comment for Coach, I will read it on air. You can text us right now, 70470. Start it with the word team. Again, 70470. Start it with the word team. To put a bow on that conversation about Freddie Peralta for the Padres, or just kind of catching up on the news of the last few days for the Padres, is, I was kind of encouraged by a couple things this week. Not necessarily just the news that maybe they're in on Freddie Peralta. I mean, I'm all for that, even though I find it to be unlikely. But like the Bud Black, Will Myers thing, I'm in favor of. That's great. Like the more people that can help an organization in some form or fashion, the better. Like Bud Black, widely respected baseball man, widely respected. Former manager here, did as well as he possibly could with the Rockies. The fact that he maintained that job as long as he did tells you all you need to know about Buddy Black. And then Will Myers, like, what an interesting career in San Diego, from maligned to beloved to somewhere in between to misunderstood to buying drinks for people after the Dodgers series in 2022 to now back involved in the organization. So like I credit Preller for bringing these types back. And the reason I say that is it wasn't all roses with Myers. Certainly wasn't all roses for Preller and Bud Black. He terminated him 10 plus years ago. So for Preller to be willing to bring Buddy Black back in, to turn to someone of the ilk of Will Myers, in an effort to make the organization better. Again, what does it mean? What is it worth? I can't put my finger on that, but I respect it. When I saw that tweet from Dennis Lin, that's the first person I saw from. Like I was optimistic about it. I think it put a smile on my face, honestly.
Well, I made the joke with J-Riff when it came out that, Buddy Black's title is just a lot of words just to say that he's a glorified babysitter. But
right.
But that's something that we talked about when, they're going through their whole manager search of if they hire somebody with, no manager experience, they're going to need somebody that has manager experience, either be a bench coach or be some part of this team to kind of, hold his hand and just kind of help him guide him through his first year. And, I can't think of a better person to hold, Craig Sam's hand than Buddy Black through this whole thing. So yeah, I joked about him being a glorified babysitter, and to a certain degree, that's probably what he is going to be. But, if I had to pick a babysitter for my first year manager, he's a good one to hire.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, okay. So I'm looking at Bud Black right now. He's 68. So it makes sense to step away as a full-time manager. By the way, he was better off with the Rockies relieving him of his duties. I mean, what a great reward. He could spend the rest of the season in San Diego playing golf, basically. But now he's back in baseball, as he has spent, as Annie talked about earlier. I mean, here's a guy that had a great career as a player, has been a very successful manager. I mean, basically 2 10-year runs. San Diego, 8-9-year run. Colorado, 8-9-year run. World Series champion. Former manager of the year. I've always said, if you've listened to the show long enough, I've spoken really highly of Bud Black for a long time. And I thought once he was relieved of his duties with the Rockies, I thought he would play a role in some form or fashion for either he's from here. He's an Aztec for life. I figured he would be involved with the Padres or with the Aztecs in some way. I really did. Steven Strasburg's back now, as an ambassador and beyond with San Diego State baseball. I just knew Buddy Black would be involved locally in baseball, whether it was with the Aztecs or with the Padres. So I do think that is a win. And then the other win that we talked about a little bit earlier, and I do see it as a win, is not landing Nolan Arenado. Like, I think it's like it's all good. You could pursue it. You don't land him. You don't reach. Do you really want to move a player off his career position coming off the worst season of his career? Like, is it like, I got to figure it out. Let's go get Nolan Arenado as a 35-year-old. Let's move him to first, and trust me, it's all going to work. Again, for free as a flyer deal for $1 million a year. Okay, there are worse ideas, but it sounds like at the end of the day, the Padres didn't want to give him $11+ million for the next 2 years, even if the Cardinals pay down the remainder of the contract. And to be honest with you, I'm completely okay with it, as maybe they pivot to, option B, C, and D. And I'm not rooting against Nolan Arenado. I think he's had a really good career. But it does seem like he's, I don't know if he's falling off a cliff, because I think he could still have a bounce back year, but it's not just last year. If you look at his last 3 years, the production is way down. So that's really concerning to me. I think Dan Zimborski from Fangraphs would tell us the best indicator of how a player is going to perform next year is what he did last year. That's the best indicator of performance. There's outliers everywhere. You can be bad to good, good to bad. But if you hit 280 with 30 home runs last year, there's a decent chance you hit within 15 percentage points one way or the other, and within 3 to 5 home runs one way or the other. And that would be my concern, I guess, with Nolan Arenado. So he's in division. He's with Arizona. Do the Padres need help with their lineup? Yes. Do they need more power? Yes. Now, Arenado didn't hit for any power last year, like none at all. So that wouldn't have solved that problem alone. Does he help your clubhouse, your dynamic? Yeah, all that stuff, sure. But at the end of the day, you got to hit.
Well, see, you just brought up a good point there. We would have been in the same boat that we've been in the last couple of years. What's everyone, piss and moan about our first base? Oh, we got first baseman that doesn't hit for power. And it's like, so now we're going to go and bring in a non-first baseman, but put him at first, who has absolutely no power.
Yeah, we had 12 home runs last year. I mean, come on. All right, on the other side, Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal as we get you ready for San Diego State and New Mexico, and the Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. Get your questions in right now. 70470. Start it with the word team. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. John Harbaugh and the New York Giants are finalizing an agreement to make him their next head coach. The deal is not final and contract numbers are still being negotiated, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. But barring any major setbacks, it looks like it's going to be a done deal. In other NFL news, 49ers All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner, the team says he is progressing a lot, but he is still out for this weekend's divisional round game against the Seahawks. And speaking of the Seahawks, their starting quarterback Sam Darnold, he left practice early today with an oblique injury. The team has listed him as questionable for Saturday's game against the 49ers, but they expect him to play. Tonight at 6:00, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about last night's win in Wyoming and more. And then following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we have Lakers basketball at 7:15 when the team takes on the Hornets. Tip is set for 7:30. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, San Diego Restaurant Week. I apologize. Caller 7, call right now. You've got a $50 gift card to 333 Pacific for San Diego Restaurant Week. Caller 7, 877-767-4760. San Diego Restaurant Week invites you to dine out at over 100 restaurants from Oceanside to Chula Vista, January 25th through February 1st. Book your reservations at SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. You also get a pair of tickets to a special screening of Mercy, only in theaters January 23rd. If you want that $50 gift card to 333 Pacific, call 877-767-4760. Let's get to our conversation with Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal. He joined us earlier. We started the conversation by asking him what's been most impressive about the job Eric Olin has done with the Lobos.
They're doing it with a roster full of who's that guy? Really, another D2 transfer? Are we kidding me? Like, that's not Donovan Dent. That's not JT Toppin. That's not Nelly Jr. Joseph. And yet they're sitting there at 15-3, 5-1. Their losses are, not that bad. I mean, one of them is a quad 3 right now, but it's a rivalry road loss to New Mexico State in like game 5 of this entirely new roster of the season. It was an entirely new roster and coaching staff. And in the 4th, 5th game of the season, they go and lose to a in-state rival on the road. It was a 2-point game in the final minute. Ended up being, I think, 8-point differential. But, that's not the worst loss in the world. They lose to a Nebraska team that's top 10 and still undefeated. And then they do lose on the road at Boise. In a game, they played great defense. They held Boise State to like 32% shooting or something crazy like that. They just were even worse on offense. But like the 3 losses aren't bad. They're doing it with the Jake Hall, who was recruited by UC San Diego since he was 14, and people in that area certainly know him well. Scored 3,000 points in high school, but he wasn't exactly recruited by anybody else. That includes San Diego State for understandable reasons. I mean, the first thing you look for at San Diego State is who's he going to defend, and the question, you get thrown out the off the list pretty high or pretty quickly rather, when the question is who's he going to defend. And Jake Hall's been fantastic as a traditional freshman. They got a non-traditional freshman in Thomas Bullion, played 3 years professionally in Croatia. And now he's a double machine. And then they got one other true freshman from Prescott, Arizona, who's 5'10". I mean, who's going to recruit that? Not many. And those 3 freshmen make them the only team in the country right now with 3 freshmen averaging double-figure scoring. And it's not what you see in 2025-26 basketball is a team full of freshmen really doing it, and a brand new team. It's been impressive. The highs aren't there like they were under Patino when you'd have emotional Jalen House moments. Viejas Arena is certainly aware of those, but the lows aren't there either when you'd have Jalen House moments like Viejas Arena has seen as well. They don't implode. They do have some good, nice runs where the pit gets going and goes crazy, but they don't have anybody that's out there pounding their chest and just going crazy. So he just keeps them at such an even keel. They're a really good team. They don't really hurt themselves that often, and they're just playing really well, man. Their defense actually right now, surprisingly to many, I'm sure, is ranked number 1 in KenPom in league play. They're doing really well defensively. So it's been fascinating to watch Eric put an entire roster together because he was starting at zero, not one returner. We're talking strength coach, athletic trainer. The sports information director, Steve Kirkland, is back, and 2 student managers. Nobody else, not one ops guy or anything. And so Eric got to put this entire roster together piece by piece, how he wants it to fit his little formula in his head. And as you guys know, he's really into analytics. He has a pretty specific kind of thing he's looking for, and he did it. And it was with a bunch of guys that fans here were like, "Oh my goodness, what have we gotten into? What's going on here?" And just not a bunch of really highly heralded guys.
Yeah, that's fascinating. But again, he has a system that's been tried and true going back to his days, obviously, in San Diego at UCSD. Jeff Grammer is with us from the Albuquerque Journal. Again, the Aztecs and Lobos for the first time in the regular season this year, Saturday at 5 from Viejas Arena. We have some tickets to give away. We'll do that later in the hour. This game, as you know, Jeff, and I don't know if all of our listeners do, but I mean, serious San Diego ties with Olin. You mentioned Jake Hall. There's Chris Howell, Luke Hopt as well. What do you? Where do you even go with this? I mean, you cover this team, you write. I mean, there's so many San Diego ties heading into Saturday, right?
Yeah, and I think all the family of all those people and all the connections for all those people are going to be there. Sure. And make it a big, and it probably matters to the players an awful lot. Like I really think it does. Like they may say the right things. I got to tell you, I don't think it matters that much to Eric, because as I kind of said, as boring as sometimes some people feel it is, he just doesn't. He's been really good at not making a game bigger than it needs to be or less than it needs to be. That's why they went into Air Force and ended up beating them by the largest road margin that UNM's had in a Mountain West game, because that really bad Air Force team has been one where the Lobos have gotten up by 20 and then ended up winning by like 11 because they kind of let up a little bit, right? Like he just doesn't really seem to care from game to game who the opponent is. He looks at it on paper and figures out, okay, this is going to be our game plan. Let's go figure it out, and then kind of moves on from there. I don't think Eric actually cares that much about it, but obviously all the other pieces do. That Jake Hall, whether he says it or not, I'm sure he wishes he would have been recruited by the marquee team in town, and he really wasn't. I think there are other guys there that probably, in an honest moment, would tell you, yeah, San Diego State didn't recruit us. We remember, and so, yeah, I think it matters to a whole lot of people. I actually don't think it matters that much to Eric, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. I go back to just recent history. There were some really unbelievable games between San Diego State and UCSD, including a game in La Jolla at UCSD after the Aztecs played for a national championship. That next year, they followed through their commitment to play at UCSD, and they came within, a half second of losing. They had a Jaden Ledee putback at the buzzer that saved them from losing to UCSD in just a ridiculous game where the Aztecs, I think, came back from 10, 12, or 14 down in the final 5 or 6 minutes. Jeff Grammer's with us right now from the Albuquerque Journal. How do you feel about the league right now? I mean, it's a good league. Once again, I don't know if it'll be rewarded the same way it's been rewarded the last 3 years with all the at-large teams. How do you see it right now? Obviously, Utah State where they are, New Mexico and San Diego State on solid footing. How do you feel about the league, the top of the league, and their chances for multiple bids, whatever the number might be?
Yeah, I don't think 4 years of getting 4 or more isn't going to happen, but I do think 3 is realistic. It's obviously still kind of comes down to who takes advantage of the road opportunities like New Mexico has this week, and who doesn't hurt themselves with some home losses like San Diego State faces this week. Although this one wouldn't be a bad one because New Mexico is 42 right now in the net, and I do think that it ends up getting 3. If I'm power ranking the league right now, I'm going Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico. But if I'm kind of using it as tiers, I'm putting Utah State up there, and I'm putting San Diego State and New Mexico kind of on the equal tier, just a step behind what I've seen from Utah State. Although Utah State's certainly shown some flaws and some vulnerability, I do think that what they've done to date is worthy of kind of being in its own little tier at the top right now. But I think New Mexico and San Diego State right now, all things considered, are pretty clearly, in my mind anyway, on a second tier in that 2-3 spot. And I just think the rest of the league still has some proving to do. Nevada was obviously off to a really good start, but I don't know that they're going to get over the hump. They might be that 4th team that gets a bye in the Mountain West tournament. But, Boise State's got to be the story of the league right now, right? As good as Utah State's doing, Boise State's got to be the story of the league right now. That one, and they are the only loss that New Mexico has. New Mexico went to Boise and lost. The only win Boise has is against this Lobo team that I'm saying I think is pretty good. And yet Boise State is just an awful team right now. It's been pretty remarkable to see in my mind.
Especially the way it's played out. They had San Diego State beaten after being out of a game. I mean, they trailed 42-18, as you know. Then they truly had San Diego State beaten probably multiple times late, regulation, then overtime, and they just could not finish off the game. And it feels like that hangover has just completely spiraled their season. We'll see if they can recover from it. Speaking of the Aztecs, I'm curious, Jeff, just to get your thoughts. San Diego State, typically they'll take advantage of one of those non-conference opportunities and rely heavily on that from an at-large perspective, whether it's like a Houston last year or wins over Creighton historically. There have been so many wins over Power 4 opponents in the non-conference historically. They didn't really do that this year. What are your impressions, though, of the way San Diego State has gone from where they were to start the year to where they are right now?
Well, so when we're talking March and Selection Sunday, obviously they got some ground to gain. I think, like I said, I would say they're a slightly better team than New Mexico right now, but New Mexico right now would probably have a better chance at getting in the NCAA tournament right now. They obviously have a higher net, just a little bit and stuff like that. But it's because, like you said, while they played those top tier teams, they weren't able to come away with just one really good non-conference win. And I would say that San Diego State they better not, overlook the road chances at the pit later this year at Utah State, and Utah State coming to Viejas, obviously, because they're so high in the rankings right now, would be another one. But like they need to make sure they get a couple of these feathers in the caps just to make it comfortable. I think they're going to end up with enough wins in a solid Mountain West and a good Mountain West that they probably won't be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. But man, it's not going to be because of a handful of really, really good wins. This is going to have to be a season where they just don't have many hiccups, right? The Troy one was bad, but they better not get picked off like last night in Laramie. That was a good one to come away with, right? They better not get picked off in one of those kind of games if they don't want to sweat out Selection Sunday.
We're kind of up against it, Jeff, but I want to go a little long with you because I have to ask you about the dynamic playing out within the league, which we've known now for over a year, with 5 teams heading for the Pac-12 and obviously the Mountain West maintaining what it is and adding to it as well. How does this play out specifically in Albuquerque with its proud basketball tradition, with its winning legacy, with its tournament teams, with some of the rivalries, including San Diego State? I would imagine of all places, you could argue pros and cons both ways, all sides of it, but this will have an impact on New Mexico basketball. What it means remains to be seen, but what impact do you see it having on New Mexico, and what does it mean for the fan base of the Lobos?
It's going to hurt New Mexico basketball. It is. They're not going to be in as good a league next year. They just aren't. And the fans are going to be bitter about something anyway. But this gives them something to really be bitter about because they had a bad decade, but they also feel they're pretty confident in where they stand in the all-time history of the Mountain West. And if it was a basketball-only decision, they would be in the Pac-12, and they know that. So there is some bitterness to it. They want to beat San Diego State and they want to beat Utah State and they want to beat all the teams leaving. They wanted to do all that stuff anyway. But yeah, there's a little extra to Lobo fans this year to get these games.
Jeff, appreciate it. Safe travels. We will see you Saturday late afternoon, Viejas Arena. Another Aztecs Lobos game in the Mountain West, the final time in the Mountain West in San Diego, and we will see you this weekend. All right, safe travels.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, man. Should be fun. Thanks.
It should be a lot. All right, again, Jeff Grammer with us earlier. Brian Dutcher coming up, the Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. If you have a question for Coach Dutcher, you can get it in on our text line, 70470. Start it with the word team. We'll take a timeout. Brent's back, Page on the other side, right here on San Diego Sports 760. Final time, but the Brian Dutcher Show is coming up at 6 p.m. You can get your text in if you have a question for Dutch, 70470. Start it with the word team. And 70470, start it with team. We've got Aztecs Lobos on Saturday at 5 p.m. Pregame coverage at 4. San Diego State and New Mexico. The Aztecs 6-0 in the Mountain West. The Lobos are 5-1. All right, let's get to it.
We'll start with a quick one that involves you.
Involves me?
Yeah, you remember on what day was that? Would have been yesterday when you were supposed to come on with J-Riff and your call got cut short because of the big Verizon. Yeah, as in non-existent. Due to the Verizon outage.
Yeah.
You know, that was like pretty much nationwide.
Yeah.
Well, Verizon came out today and said that all Verizon customers are going to get a whopping $20 credit that you can apply to your bill through the app.
But you got to redeem it
through
the
app.
They don't give it to you automatically. And listen, no cell service for a day. Okay, it's not weeks. Like YouTube TV, remember, had the back and forth with ESPN?
Yes.
Where you didn't have for a couple of weeks. And they gave $20. People were like, $20, we'd have ESPN for 3 weeks.
But they also did the thing where you had to do it yourself because they were hoping that you would just be lazy and not do it.
So I feel like $20 is fair for one day, but I don't like that you have to do it through the app because, to everyone's point, this means 39% of people will never even do it.
Yeah, to me, it's just like when, Home Depot or somebody is like, oh, you can buy this set of tools and you get a $100 money back rebate. And it's just like, how many people actually go through the effort of filling out the paperwork, sending it in, and all that for the barely
5% maybe on rebates. I'm with you. This My Verizon thing, this go to the app and claim your $20. I mean, will half of people do that? Probably not. That seems like a high number. But I sent it to my wife, and Kristen has already done it because we're a Verizon customer. Now, is that $20 per line or per account?
I think it's per account.
Yeah, it makes sense. But we have multiple lines through Verizon. My phone, her phone.
But they'd all be lumped into one bill.
Yeah, $20. I mean, $20, it's not nothing. Take it.
No, I don't know how expensive Verizon is.
Yeah, it's not like T-Mobile. You have T-Mobile?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think T-Mobile is probably more affordable, but take the $20. All right, what else you got?
A curious new study came out where they ranked a list of states based on the odds of somebody being abducted by aliens.
Wow. What takes the top spot?
The top spot and the stats for how they tabulated this is kind of weird. The study they took cases from the National UFO Reporting Center from 2019 through 2024, where witnesses recounted, quote, abduction-related details, such as missing time, physical contact, or claims of being taken. And then it was compared with the frequency of UFO reports in the same area. And the top of the list was New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Yes. So if you want to go get abducted by aliens, your best shot, according to this study, is in New Hampshire. Just because I guess the state has the highest number of UFO reports per 100,000 residents. So
I wouldn't have predicted you saying that.
I would
have said New Mexico.
I don't think. Oh, I'll get to that. I don't think most people would ever pick New Hampshire for any answer, honestly. That's not like a knock on New Hampshire. Right. I just can't think of anything that you have.
When I think of New Hampshire, I think of the primary.
I think of this really weird, obscure Jodie Foster movie from the 80s called Hotel New Hampshire, which had nothing to do with New Hampshire.
It is an odd state, man. When I think of states, it would never be in my top 40 picks.
No. Rounding out the top 5 were Idaho, Vermont, Maine, and Oregon.
So these are all, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
And the bottom 5, the least likely states where aliens are going to take you are Minnesota, Mississippi, Nebraska, Indiana, and then despite its place in UFO lore, New Mexico, which was last.
Okay, interesting.
I'm sure the conspiracy theory people will tell you that they put it last to make you think there's nothing there.
But there actually is.
Yeah, but there's actually stuff there. And then last but not least, there's some major shakeups at Crumble Cookie, John.
Okay.
That we need to talk about. Crumble announced big shakeups the other day to its menu. They're now only offering 4 weekly rotating cookies. You remember how Jim would come on every Monday and go through the whole
11.
list of all the rotating cookies? Well, they're cutting that down now, I guess, in 2026. They're only offering 4 weekly rotating cookies, but the chain will be adding 6 cookies to its classic flavors lineup, which will now be permanently available in stores daily. So they're cutting down on the number of rotating cookies, but they're adding some more permanent ones that you can get every day.
Well, what are the ones that are rotate? Do we know what's rotating right now? We're in the middle of the week.
Classic flavors that will now be consistently available include pink sugar chocolate crumble featuring Oreo, brownie batter, snickerdoodle, celebration cake, and either milk chocolate chip or semi-sweet chocolate chunk, which they said they will rotate those every other week.
Can't go wrong.
So so it just sounds like they're cutting down on some of the randomness, but
I kind of liked the randomness, maybe just for the back page. But I mean, the thing is, you don't need to get too creative with cookies. People like cookies. Like, you don't have to have the most creative cookies in the world to get people in the door. Like, people like chocolate chip. People like whatever, double chocolate or chocolate chunk. All right, good job with the back page from Brent here today. All right, we have another hour in store for you. That's because the Brian Dutcher Show is coming up. Now, if you have a question for Brian Dutcher, Aztecs are 6-0 in the Mountain West. They have this huge game with New Mexico Saturday at 5, and we'll get your questions on our text line. 70470. You can start your message with the word team. Again, 70470. Start it with the word team. The Aztecs last night were in Laramie, Wyoming for a final time ever. I think I said in the broadcast last night, maybe with Fletch, there's a better chance the sun burns out before San Diego State returns to Laramie. I just don't see it. But we will catch up and touch on that win at Wyoming and what's in store Saturday at Viejas Arena, San Diego State, and New Mexico tussle.
I did joke to Fletch. I said, one thing that we will not miss about Wyoming is their very, very colorful color scheme that they have.
The brown and...
I'm being ironic. It's like the most boring color scheme ever, the brown and the yellow.
It's kind of like, looks like the Padres of like 77. Not as much the Padres today, but like the Padres of the 70s.
Their basketball uniforms aren't as bad as the football uniforms. The football ones are awful.
I agree. All right, if you got a question for Dutch, 70470, start it with the word team. Brian Dutcher joins us live on the other side with the Brian Dutcher Show right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.